All right, we are expecting our other member, but at least we have a quorum for this evening. Can I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Pam, at our next meeting, we'll adopt a schedule for next year? Mm-hmm. Okay. So our next upcoming meetings will be, next month will be Wednesday, so if any of you are assigned for a public hearing for next month, please remember that it's Wednesday. The second Tuesday of next month is Veterans Day, so Town Hall will be closed. And then the following month's meeting will be Tuesday, December 9th. We do not have minutes to approve this evening, so we're actually going to just go right into the order of our business. Actually, let me explain how we work for those of you who are new to our proceedings. The first thing we have on our agenda is a decision. That's a public hearing and an application where we've already closed the public hearing and the board just has to make the decision. Then we have public hearings, which is where we're inviting neighbors to come and comment. These are applications the board has already reviewed, and you as neighbors might know a little bit more than what we would see from wherever we live in town. And then the last part of the meeting is, here he is, here's our other member, is reviews. And those are generally new applications, or they're applications where there have been issues and we've made some suggestions to the applicants, and we just felt that the review needed a little bit more time of working with us before we put it out for a public hearing. There is not any public comment on any of the reviews. So that being said, we're going to start with item number 1, which is a decision, Appeal 3682, Oleschuk. Did I get it? Try it on this one. Richard Oleschuk, 6 Somerset Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 25-foot front line variance for a proposed in-ground pool pursuant to Section 194-95 of the zoning ordinance. So again, public hearing's already closed. So would anybody like to offer the resolution?
I'll offer it.
Thank you.
This is an application by Richard Oleschuk, Oleschuk, 6 Somerset Road, Hopewell Junction, New York, requesting a 25-foot front line variance for a proposed in-ground pool pursuant to Section 194-95 of the Town of East Fishkill zoning ordinance. The applicant's property is located on R1 zoning district, and it is a corner lot. The applicant's ability to place a pool in the property is severely limited by having 2 front yards, conservation easement, wetlands, wetland buffers, and a septic field in the rear yard. The applicant's property has a split rail fence which delineates the outer edge of the wetland buffer zone or adjacent area of freshwater wetland HJ-54. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation confirmed same by several emails on June 12, 2014. The applicant wrote to the ZBA on July 25, 2014, in quotation, "In my revised plan, I am requesting that the edge of the pool be placed 20 feet away from my east property line. I'm also requesting an approval for a patio that would extend from the pool to 15 feet away from the east property line, while in the adjacent area, the 10 feet away from the same property line in the unprotected portion of the backyard." Quotation closed. The problem of the applicant is the setback requirement contained in Section 194-95, private swimming pools and tennis courts, which setback requirements are all swimming pools and or tennis courts shall be set back from a lot line at least 25 feet from side and rear lot lines. Such pool and or tennis courts shall not be located in any required front yard. Historically, this board has been reluctant to allow a swimming pool to be placed in the front yard. Here, 2 front yards result from the property being a corner lot. However, this board believes that the benefit of the applicant clearly outweighs the detriment to the community in this application. 1. The granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties because the pool location selected by the applicant places the pool further away from neighbors' property and is less visible from the adjacent road, which is situated at a much higher elevation. Number 2. The result desired and an in-ground pool cannot be achieved by means other than granting a variance due to the applicant having 2 front yards, conservation easements, wetlands, wetland buffers, and a septic system in the rear yard, all to be all to be contended with in placing the pool. The variance is substantial. However, while the variance is substantial with respect to the property line, the easement and road elevation keep the pool a good distance away from the road itself and the viewing public. Number 4, the proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect on the neighborhood or zoning district. Essentially, placing the pool anywhere in the rear of the house would require a variance. In the proposed location, the pool will be far away from neighbors and a good distance from the road. In fact, 3 neighbors wrote to the board supporting this application. Number 5, the need for a variance for a proposed pool is not self-created. The 2 front yards, conservation easement, wetland buffers, and rear yard septic system were all in place before the applicant purchased this house. Also, the applicant contacted the town and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation before embarking on this project to build a 16 feet by 32 feet in-ground pool. Finally, this board notes, number 1, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation and this board recommended that the pool be placed at a location that least impacts on the wetland buffers by placing the pool closer to the slope formed by the adjacent higher elevation road. Number 2, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation has approved the applicant's revised plan and issued a permit to the applicant. Number 3, the other side of the applicant's street is a large wooded area and the Taconic State Parkway. No houses can be built there now or in the future that might be impacted by this pool being placed closer to the property than zoning would normally allow. Number 4, this is a unique case with unique circumstances. It should not be easily relied upon in future applications involving backyard pools. Given all the foregoing and within the application of Richard Olezak, 6 Somerset Road, Hopewell Junction, requesting a 25-foot front line variance for a proposed in-ground pool is hereby granted. This is a type 2 action under seeker. No further compliance is required.
All right, before we take a second, I just would like to make adjustment of one word on item number 3 on the finally this board notes. Can we just say placed closer to the property line than zoning would normally allow? Okay?
I'm fine with it.
All right, so is there a second? Well, you do need to just add that, and the copy of this will be filed with the clerk within 5 days
Okay.
by the board of the designee. All right?
Be it
you.
further resolved that within 5 business days that of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner. And also, I'd like to amend it to say, I didn't see it.
Seeker? It's right there.
No, that it was advertised.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. I know.
yeah.
The board conducted.
Yeah,
Public hearing.
so there was a legal notice published in the Sudden Just News on, that was one thing missing, and then we had public hearings. So,
Okay, all that, I second.
we need to know
Yeah, let me,
we need to know the public hearing dates and the publication.
Today's the public.
hold on,
hearing.
yeah, I even have it.
Today's,
Wednesday, September 10th
okay,
was the date of the public hearing.
Yes,
okay.
open, closed.
Okay,
Got it.
whereas the zoning board of appeals had a public
So-
hearing on September
10th.
10th, 2014, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Just News on August.
I don't have any resolutions from last month. Yeah, I do, actually.
21st or 28th? I'm going to go 20th.
August
Hold on.
28th,
I think I might have this one. August 27th,
August 27,
because I
2014.
have another resolution from last month.
Resolution seconded.
So a second? Jim? Yes, no?
Yeah, she's,
I thought you were on board
she
with
beat me
that.
to it.
All right,
She
so
beat me
then
to shit.
votes as follows, Jim,
Aye.
Aziz,
Aye.
Tara, Barbara,
Aye.
and myself. Aye, so your motion carries, you're all set.
Thank
Okay?
you very much.
Have a good evening. All right,
Goodbye.
Pam's gonna need that one, 'cause- All right, so item number 2 is an adjourned public hearing. Appeal 3618 Meyer, William C. Meyer, 4 Spring Meadow Lane, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed 11-foot by 16-foot garden shed pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to reconvene the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Before you say anything, we did get an update from Mr. Meyer by email that said that your title company had been working with you, and they have assigned you an attorney to help you deal with this, which is the best we could have hoped for. All right. At the same time, we received a letter from the attorney hired by your neighbor, who did request an adjournment this evening, but because it is a public hearing, we couldn't just adjourn it without at least, opening it and giving you guys the opportunity to give us an update on anything else. So that being said, your neighbor has now hired an attorney, your title company has given you an attorney, so I'm not, if there's anything you wish to add, otherwise we'll adjourn it again to whenever you think is appropriate.
We did speak with counsel when we received the letter,
Okay?
and under the advice of counsel, we would ask the board to consider a decision on our application based on the evidence we have provided with our certified survey. Any personal litigation should and will take place outside of these meetings.
Okay. I guess we can, anything else? No? Okay. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak for or against the appeal for William C. Meyer, 4 Spring Meadow Lane, Hopewell Junction, requesting a 45-foot rear line variance for a proposed shed? Come on up.
Good evening. I'm Ruth Post from the law firm of McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. I represent the Davies, who are adjacent property owners. You received my letter.
We did.
I commenced a legal action this morning. I haven't obviously served the Myers yet because I just commenced it this morning. Strictly a quiet title to resolve the boundary dispute. So I would request that the board adjourn deciding their application until we have a chance to resolve the dispute.
Okay, so the dispute is you see it, the actual location where they're requesting the shed is Mr. Davies' property, or does it just make it closer to Mr. Davies' property?
A portion of it, I believe, is in
Is
the
actually on
disputed
his
area.
property.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a disputed area of approximately 8 feet. I believe that they're asking to be 5 feet from the property line as they view it.
Right.
Which would mean that if our
There's 3 feet of
survey
it
is the
then.
one that's accepted by a court of law, then it would be an encroachment.
Got it. Okay. Anything else?
Well, question, I mean, suppose we went ahead and granted it, and it's their property, it's a shed, they could just move it? I
Well,
mean,
we would-
We
it-
just give it,
Not this size, you can't just pick up.
It,
What is it?
right, the nature of the construction, as I understand it, is it's more than just, a Rubbermaid shed that you buy at Home Depot and place on the property. Since it's construction, I would ask that an adjournment be granted because it would.
11 by 16. It's not-
The-
mean,
I
it's
didn't, I don't believe I saw the entire application, but I did see a construction plans of some sort in what I was given of what was filed, so it does require some construction. It would mean if a court of law decides that it is on my client's property, it would have to be moved, and it would be a hardship.
Well, it would be a hardship to them.
Yes,
So, I mean, it's up to them to take a risk if we go forward.
I realize that.
That's the point I'm trying to make to them. And they're asking that a decision be made, so, I mean, I don't know, I mean, it's something just for us to consider, but I want it out there that if it's their obligation, which I think I made originally in one of our hearings was, or the review, if we grant the variance and the property line is not where they think it is, they have a problem.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, you're requesting an adjournment. Can you give us some sense of timing?
Well, I just started the action today. They will have, I will see if they'll accept service this evening or if I send it to my process servers. It's not a complicated case. There won't be an enormous amount of discovery. It's a kind of case that's a legal decision. So
Are you talking 3 months, 6 months?
It depends
What's
on
an appropriate-
I don't know what judge it'll be assigned to. I don't know how quick the judge will act. Could be as short as 6 months, but it really depends on the judge. I have cases that sit before judges fully submitted
Right.
for more than 6 months.
This is for Dutchess, right? We got good Dutchess judges.
I'm usually
Dutchess
in,
County,
Are they
yes.
watching?
I'm usually in Westchester, and I know which judges take a long time, which judges don't. I'm sorry, I don't know in Dutchess if it's the same.
Actually, we are pretty good Dutchess. So, but it's probably, I would expect even 6 months would probably be the outside date, so.
I don't know
I don't know.
if it matters that the winter season's coming. I don't know if construction would be done then
Right.
anyway. We would move it along as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Monton, did you wish to make another comment?
Just the fact that that could be moved.
Oh, the shed could be moved?
It could be moved.
Okay, but if it can be moved 5 feet in from the property line, why can't we just put it there now then?
Because of trees.
Yeah, that was
And
his
the
argument.
trees
He
are an
wants to
issue.
put it in the trees. It will be hidden by the trees where he wants it. The property line, that's not his property, and obviously he won't have the trees to claim as his own.
I didn't understand the footage that you just said, if you could clarify.
You're asking right now for a 45-foot variance, which
Right.
means that it would be in 5 feet from your property line. If your property line is now moved 8 feet,
I believe the disputed area is 8 feet.
okay, that would then bring the shed in another 5 feet from the 8 feet, which then puts it 13 feet in, closer than where you're thinking it's going to go now.
Right. We did ask the board at one of the previous hearings to consider a 10 or 13-foot. If we asked for a 40-foot variance, which would mean 10 foot from our survey line, that would definitely be off of the property in question.
So you still have a complication. If we grant a 10-foot, a variance of 40 feet, so you're 10 feet away, your property line moved, you still have to move the shed, because your variance
Okay.
is
So
not.
then, if we leave it at 5 and ask for, based on
And you
what
move
I
it
was,
farther away?
what we were advised under council was to
See,
ask.
this is the problem with us making a decision.
Back to us
If they wanted
for
a
a
variance.
revision to the variance. So they'd have
Because
to
once
come
you're,
back.
what's going to happen is you think where your property line is right now.
We have a
The
certified
gut-
survey. right?
Exactly right. But the judge could move the property line, so if we give you a 10-foot variance, you still have to move it because it's from
Be in
10.
compliance with the
Right,
10-foot
okay.
variance.
Correct, so your property line moves by 8 feet, you
Then-
got to move it another 8 feet because we gave you a variance for 10 feet.
Okay.
So whatever your property line is, 10 feet from your
I
property
under-
line.
I
So you're
understand.
18, whatever the
Right,
number
so
is.
then we leave it at 5, so that there's no difference from the application.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak on the application? What's the pleasure of the board?
Close and reserve.
We don't have the council here, but again, it's one of those things where the applicant is willing to take the risk and it's their burden. So if they have to uproot their, if they're willing to move their shed by a certain amount, if the boundary line moves, then the burden is up to them. We'll have it on the record that, they were aware of it and they moved it. And so if they have to compensate the neighbor for any destruction of the property that the neighbor, incurred because they had their, shed or they had cut the trees or something, then it is their responsibility and it'll be litigated, and again, it's the risk that they are taking. So,
But I'll tell you, my opinion is if it can be moved, then it should be, they should be requesting less of a variance. That's my opinion.
Well, their argument always has been is that they want to hide it in the trees.
Understood, but there are other locations on their yard, as
Yeah,
we
that's
pointed
the
out,
problem.
where it can go.
Yeah.
So, are you expecting to put if the board makes a decision in your favor tonight, are you looking to put the shed up this year, or are you going to wait till the spring anyway?
I was hoping this year, but
One more comment?
Sure. Public hearing is still open.
If for argument's sake, they decide, you decide, the board decides to grant the variance now, and with the understanding that they may have to move it, I would want some assurance from my client that there's not going to be any damage done to that property. If there's any trees that have to be taken down, it's more than just moving the shed. Now
Right.
it's destroying property that belongs to my client.
Correct.
And I would object to that. So
It's
it's,
something, you need a restraining order from the judge.
well, that's part of the lawsuit, that I would object to the variance being granted with the understanding that they can move it if it requires them to do anything to the land itself or to the trees that would permit them to put it there now and then move it later.
Because we were expecting it to be adjourned, we don't have a written decision, so there's no way we're going to issue a decision this evening anyway. So at a minimum, we would close the public hearing, reserve our decision, and issue it at the next meeting or two. So given that, do we want to just adjourn it and see if there's an outcome in, in the spring? I don't know. I'm kind of asking the Myers, I guess. Okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn till,
April,
well, I was going to say February, but April?
February,
6
March,
months? I mean.
6 months.
Yeah, that should be it.
All right.
Chance to be 5 or 6
Do I have a
months,
motion for April?
Yeah.
What do you say, what?
My motion is to move, adjourn the public hearing till April 2015.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
All right.
Aye? Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next spring.
Even though we have adjourned it to April 15, but if you guys resolve it, let's say in December, January, you can always come back and,
Well, then they'd have to notice it again.
Yeah, we again, we have
They
to-
can't just do that.
okay.
So, good try. They can request it, but
Correct.
we'd have to notice it again.
Exactly.
All right, item number 3 is Appeal 3697 Pecor. Gregory Pecor, 27 Flower Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a special permit for an in-home professional office real estate broker pursuant to Section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to reconvene the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, when last we met,
Yes.
you had a number of your neighbors who had either written to the board or came out and expressed some concern.
Right.
I was at your was at my relative's home on your street within like 2 days of and so you had taken the sign down.
Okay,
So I
yes.
do appreciate that you did
Absolutely.
take down that big white sign.
Yeah.
And I know your zoning board sign went back up after, subsequent to that.
Yes.
So with a new date on it.
Yep.
So, were you able to check your deed restrictions to see,
I did.
because that was one of the things that was brought to our attention, was
Right.
that your property and most of the properties, I think, on Flower Road have a deed restriction.
Right, and the number one, it says the premise hereby conveyed shall be used for residential purposes.
Right.
It doesn't say residential use only. That would be,
Okay, but later on in those deed restrictions, is there anything prohibiting,
not that I saw. There's two, no.
do you have
There's-
a copy of your deed
yes.
restrictions?
The first page.
You just have the first page, or you have
No,
all of them?
they're-
Okay.
Hard to see.
Would one of my attorneys like to, would one of my attorney members, but who are not here in an attorney capacity, like to review those, please, for us?
I'll need to look at it.
All right, and so based on the discussion that you heard last week, is there anything
No,
you'd like to say
I-
regarding your application?
No, I mean, it was obviously my fault. The sign was too big. I mean, it's a virtual brokerage, so I
Right.
don't need a sign. If the board says no sign, I'm fine with that. I put it out there honestly because I was proud of it, and I saw the other real estate signs, and I wanted mine out there, but that went down before I got down to the house, right as soon as I pulled in the driveway. There's a lot of virtual brokerages out there. I'm probably one of the only ones who, I like to do things by the book, so I wanted to match New York State. A lot of brokers, small brokerages do it out of the house. The only, I mean, I was fine with the neighbors coming and then talking about the sign. The only comment I didn't like was from the associate broker from Houlihan Lawrence, who stated that I must have agents coming to the house, which I don't, and my neighbors can attest to that. Houlihan, and I started with Houlihan, they have a different training method. You go to the office, do that. Mine is based going open houses, on the job type training. There's nobody comes to my house. I mean, my wife doesn't want anyone at my house anyways. We have 3 small kids. I'm busy with real estate. I don't have time to even have friends over. So again, the neighbors can attest to that. Now, if I was maybe like an accountant or maybe a lawyer, there'd be a lot more traffic flow coming in and out, but it just isn't that way.
Do clients meet you at your house that you then take them out to see properties? Or
No.
how do you
Clients,
meet up with your clients?
I meet them at the houses that they're purchasing.
Okay.
And same thing for listings. Like before this, I was in Ulster
listing,
County.
that I
Right.
understand. You need
But
to go
buyers,
see the
yeah, no,
house.
we
Right.
meet at the property. All the paperwork is signed then. Otherwise, you're wasting time if you're coming to an office, in my opinion. I've never met, in all my years working at Houlihan and the other companies, I've never met anyone at an office. Just not how I do things.
Okay. Jim or Aziz?
I don't see anything in that one.
Yeah, I don't see any restriction. Actually, it doesn't seem to be complete because, yeah, I mean, it has restrictions.
Well, here's 9, so is the last one that page?
Yeah, no, it is 8, 9, yeah.
Okay.
But again, the thing is that it talks about Lamb Realty, and I was wondering, is Lamb Realty still?
No, I looked them up. I couldn't find.
Because it said very clearly up here that in one of the sections that will be there's a limitation without prior approval of Lamb Realty or its successors in interest. So if Lamb Realty didn't exist, who took over the ownership of that of these deed restrictions?
Is there an HOA?
No, no.
But I'm
So that was because there is one section that said
Yeah.
that, and that's so.
I couldn't find any information on that.
So I do not know who actually owns that piece of development or this thing. So, and this is from dated, I mean, it doesn't have a date, but it's old.
Well, these houses went up in
84,
80.
84,
80
85.
Right,
Mine was 84. Yeah,
Thereabouts,
yeah.
at least your neck of the woods
Yeah,
on that street,
yeah,
because that is a very
yeah.
long street. Okay,
It was, actually, it was.
86 and 87.
Correct. Oh, actually, this was recorded on May 20th, 1983.
Okay,
So,
Before I moved in close by in '89, and that was there before I moved in, so I don't know.
yeah.
okay.
86 is, or 87 is when,
So I do not know who is going to be enforcing these deed restrictions.
yeah.
Well, the
But if
neighbors-
there's nothing in there that objects to, it says it's supposed to be residential use. So there's nothing
But
in there
again-
that prohibits an
Correct.
So
in-home
it
office.
doesn't say only.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah,
That's the
correct.
question. I mean, I take a rather narrow point of view. If our code allows it, and we approve it.
Right.
That's not a defense if they take you to court and say residential use does not include a home business, and a judge agrees with you in a court. That's what you have to understand. I don't know how much that would affect you, since it's just you, but, I mean, and it's a rather strange situation. Essentially, we're just approving somebody be allowed to use their home address as a business address for licensing purposes.
Right. All right, any other questions or comments from board members? Can we have these for the file, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. If not, is there anyone here to speak for or against the application from Gregory Pecor, 27 Flower Road, Hopewell Junction, requesting a special permit for an in-home professional office, a virtual real estate broker? Mr. Pecor, if we could ask you to sit down? Do we have a sign-in sheet? Okay. Go
My
ahead.
name is Rodolfo Bravo, and I just have a couple of questions. I was the fourth or the fifth homeowner that moved into the development,
Okay,
and I recall that at the time that they showed us deeds and documents and the information required for a closing and so on and so forth, that there was a document that was the neighborhood covenant.
okay,
And in that, it was, fairly long, and it listed specific things that I think were mentioned by one of the plats that was here a month ago, where it indicated that you couldn't have boats outside, you could not have sheds, you could not have...
That's what he showed us here.
Is that the original one that was attached to all the deeds as we all closed on our homes?
it looks like it's a document filed with the county clerk's
Okay,
office.
and in that one, I thought it also made reference to the fact that there were no businesses.
No, there's no statement. I read.
Just so you understand something. What we're seeing here says it can be changed by Lamb Realty. And this, at the end, says it replaces an earlier one. So it might have changed.
Replaces an earlier, so that's the
Yes,
document of
what's at the
record
end?
now.
It is the intention hereby to terminate the declaration of restrictions recorded on May 20th, 1983 in Libra's 1602, page 283. So if that one's more or less restrictive, I don't know. But this one, the applicant is correct. It says residential use, but doesn't use the word only. We have another case before us which is similar, and those restrictions use the word only. And then they have a whole paragraph dealing with whether you can use a business or home offices. This one doesn't say anything. So if you closed before this one was filed, we don't have a date on this one, do we?
Yeah, that's the only date I could find.
So if it changed after you closed, I mean, that's another legal issue, but it's not on the one that he was given. So.
Okay, because I closed on December 31st, 1983.
May.
So you would have had the
You bought a
earlier
house
one.
without any filed deed restriction unless the May 1983 version replaced another previous version.
Well, this one's replacing yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because you closed before the date.
And when I closed on December the 31st, 1983, there was,
Oh, December 31st?
yes, December 31st, 1983.
Oh, okay, so then that's in place,
So
okay.
this is your-
I thought you said January.
Okay.
Okay, this is your restriction.
No, and that's a document that
Well, this was,
That one was filed, this replaces one that was filed in May 1983.
okay, but we don't know when this was filed then.
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So it may be that he doesn't have the same restriction as yours.
Because
Because I don't know what Lamb did. I don't,
when you've closed on your land, whatever's been filed on your land
Right.
stays as it is, only you have the ability to change it, or unless they reserve the right.
Okay.
So nobody else can file something else on your property.
so for
All right,
example, my brother has this up in his place, and he's the only lot in the neighborhood that has a fence in front of his house. And his neighbors came to him and said, "Why do you have a
Right.
fence?" And he says, "Well, when I bought, there was no such restriction in my deed." So they questioned about it, and he says, "Look, here it is."
So-
After he built his, then he decided he didn't want fences in the front yard.
Then, I may be mistaken then, and because my interpretation of a neighborhood covenant was that it was applicable to all the lots that had already been built on and all the lots that were subsequently going to be built on.
Well,
And I've never been, I've
that
never
was
been
always my
informed.
impression too. so-
I've never been informed, and I've never been aware of the fact that there was writing in that covenant that might exempt specific residences after the original covenant had been entered into.
Apparently, Lamb Realty reserved the right to change them, so they were the one, I presume, that was the developer of the neighborhood. Certainly people with the same restrictions, any neighbor can enforce the restrictions that a homeowner bought under, but I can't answer that question. That's not up to us to do
Okay,
either.
no, but my only interest is making sure that if that covenant had anything in it that would support whatever my neighbors presented here the last time that this meeting was held, that be a document that we all understand is in effect and in force.
Yeah. Don't see it. That's the one he's saying he bought under. Other than that, I don't know what else to tell you. It doesn't say it in there. You're free to take a look at it if you want.
Well, I'm sure I have a copy of that at home with my own paper, so if that's the last one that you say is in effect.
Well, we may close the public hearing today, but
As our town attorney gave us the advice, all right, as I mentioned last time around, it's not really up to the board to enforce deed restrictions, but we're also not going to ignore them, okay? So that's why we did ask Mr. Pecor to go and check his restrictions. He's now provided them to us. We're not seeing anything in there that blatantly restricts the use of an office on the
Okay.
property.
and that's why I made the comment earlier. If for some reason you or the other neighbors decided residential use means residential use only,
Right.
and a judge agrees with that argument, then he would have to discontinue. And okay from us meeting the town requirements in terms of a home business, it doesn't control what a Supreme Court justice may do in this case.
I see.
New
All right.
York Supreme Court
Okay.
justice.
Before
Hopefully
you-
we'll follow to the U.S.
Before you sit down, can I ask you to please sign in? Please print your name so that we have it for the minutes. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to say anything?
Mr. Peaker, when did you buy the property?
2 years ago?
2 years ago in August.
Okay, so it was a couple of years ago. And
2000.
this is a document that was associated with your package that you got at closing?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's
Straight from the title, Terry, abstracts, Belvedere abstracts.
okay. So that's again, I wanted to put it on the record that that's a document that you have to live by, and that
Correct.
says residential purposes, so whatever that means.
But again, you're stating for the record, no employees, nobody's going to be coming, no clients, no employees are coming to
Correct.
your home.
Correct.
There's not going to be any extra cars parked in your
No.
driveway. There's not
No.
going to be a sign out on the street
No,
front.
no sign.
And really, for New York State purposes, you need to be able to identify and show that this is a defined place of work for,
Correct.
for your business purposes.
Correct.
All right, any other comments or questions from board members? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I'll just read, this is appeal number 3697, Gregory Peaker, requesting a special permit for an in-home professional office real estate broker pursuant to section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance. The property is located at 27 Flower Road, Hopewell Junction. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan. Whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for special permit for an in-home professional office real estate broker pursuant to section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance, and whereas this action is a type 2 action of the seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Duchess News on August 27, 2014, and whereas the zoning board of appeals held a public hearing on September 10, 2014 and October 14, 2014, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of the special permit will not produce the undesirable will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties because there will be little if any impact on the neighborhood. Now therefore it be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by Gregory Peaker for a special permit for an accessory professional office real estate in his home pursuant to section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance. The board clearly stated that this approval is for the accessory professional office only, and if Mr. Peaker wants a sign on his property, he will have to apply to the building department for it. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second? Second. Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara? Barbara? Aye. And myself, aye, so your motion carries.
Thank you.
All right?
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Just pass that to Pam. Thank you. All right, item number 4 is a public hearing for Appeal 3695, Mid-Hudson Development Corp. Mid-Hudson Development Corp. is requesting a variance to build on an undersized lot, .93 acre, in an R1 zone, located at 6 Old Fishkill Hook Road, Hopewell Junction, pursuant to Section 194-130 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. At least I'm remembering to open them. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. I was here, my name is Kenneth M. Stenger, for the record. We were here introducing this application a month ago, and we did so at great length. I'm not going to repeat that this evening. I would like those minutes, if available, to be read in or to be made part of this record for the public hearing.
They're just not available, Ken, sorry.
Well, at some point, if they are approved, I'd like them in there.
That's fine.
Briefly, there was a history of this piece of land being before this board in prior memberships in 86 and 96, and those boards not using the standards of that exist presently under Town Law Section 267B3. And would just refer to my letter of July 25, 2014, and specifically make that part of this record, although it's part of this application, refer you to it for that history and the principles of law upon which we now come and say this application should be considered under provisions of Town Law Section 267B3 and not under the standards that existed previously. With respect to those, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Stokosa, who can speak more to who needs to speak to the practicality of what this piece of land can be used for and what the impact in the neighborhood will be should this variance be granted. But there are, of the 5 prongs, there are certain, 3 of them at least, that I can address as a matter of law. This application seeks permission to build on a lot that is 7/100ths short of an acre in a zone which is a 1-acre zone. That's what we're looking for. That is, in my view, as a matter of law, a de minimis request. One of the points is, can we get this relief for a lesser variance? We cannot. The relief that we request is de minimis. The second thing is, have we done everything in our power to attempt to fix this short of getting a variance? And it's not in the letter, but just for the record, before we came here with this application, we discussed with the town our ability to purchase from the town a portion of the land that was adjoining. And we looked at that together with the town, but we're not able to do that because that is the town's right of way, and the town can't accommodate that request.
Right.
This is the only relief, the grant of this variance is the only relief that will allow this piece of land to be put in productive use. The third piece is that looking through these records, in 1996, I represented Richard Barger when he acquired this piece of land. And Richard, of course, is no longer with us. His estate owns the property. He absolutely knew, and the record confirms that at the time he acquired the property, that it was a sub-lot. It did not measure up. In fact, he acquired title and came here. But that is a factor within the statute. The statute's very clear to say that it is not a deciding factor, and in and of itself is not a disqualifying factor. And of course, you need to balance all of these things against what happens if this variance is granted, what kind of a lot you may be creating, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Stokosa to speak to you on those points.
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening. That was quite an introduction from Ken. I like that. It's pretty good. The last time we were in front of the board, we kind of went over how the lot compared to some of the surrounding parcels in the area. We're within the 1-acre zone.
But if you don't mind, because the neighbors might be here, can you please get it on the record for this evening? Thank you.
You got it. Ringtone.
Yeah, accompanied by the music.
Can't read the sign out there. We're in the 1-acre zone. The majority of the homes that surround this parcel are in the 1-acre zone. If you look directly across the street, we did the subdivision for Mr. Gilman back in 2007. I believe that's when the map was filed. 2 1-acre lots. There is one house existing right now that has been constructed. There's a vacant lot next door to it. If you look toward the west, across Fishkill Hook Road, we did the Orchard Grove subdivision, I believe back in '96. And the majority of those lots in there were the 1-acre threshold in the R1 zone. And looking forward in the future, Mr. Bill Polval is working on a piece of property directly across the street from us. I believe it's an 8 or 9 lot subdivision.
Opposite, across which street?
Across
52?
Old Fishkill.
Oh,
Road.
okay, all right.
It's a vacant piece. It's about 40 acres inside
Okay.
in size, but it's a small road. The majority of the lots toward Fishkill Hook Road, Old Fishkill Hook Road, will be in the 1-acre area dimension. The lots toward the back will be bigger in size just because there's a large amount of wetlands, DEC wetlands in the back. So if you look at both existing and proposed, this lot would be in the general size range. We also looked at, we were asked a question regarding, constructability of this house. We show a typical ranch-style home on the parcel. If you look at the building setbacks, we are encumbered by 3 roads, Old Fishkill Hook Road, and Interstate 84. Fishkill Hook and Old Fishkill Hook have a 50-foot front yard setback. Route 84 has a 100-foot setback threshold. We show that on our plans. We brought the plan up to the board members at the last meeting so we could take a look at it. We aren't requesting any additional variances other than what we're asking for on the record. We do show that the house can work. It's an average-sized house that meets the standard that is within the neighborhood. I believe we showed a 1,800 square foot footprint That includes a deck, I believe a front porch, two-car garage, in-ground septic, individual water supply. Again, no additional permits we're requesting for
How many
construction.
bedrooms? How many bedrooms?
The soils out there, looking at Mr. Barger's map, I believe the original approval was for a four-bedroom, and he did receive health department approval when he purchased the property. I believe before we made application to this board, we actually asked the Board of Health to reapprove or extend the original approval. And I believe the Board of Health did that. I believe we have a record of that, but it can support a four-bedroom dwelling. Again, individual well, individual septic.
How far away is the property line? The property line abuts I-84.
Correct.
The property associated with I-84, but how far away is it from the actual roadway,
Yeah, I don't know if we show that on there.
This is the aerial of the property? All right, so this is I-84. I think in your participation in our meetings the last month or so, you've heard a lot of discussion about people who've been coming in for variances with corner lots, with 2 front yards.
Yes.
You're asking us to approve a property that in essence would have 4 front yards. What's the backyard? What's the front yard? Where would,
Well, we reorientated the house toward the existing cul-de-sac, so the backyard would be facing Fishkill Hook Road. The side of the house would be facing Route 84.
So the backyard is what anybody driving on Route 52 is going to see?
Fishkill
No,
Hook.
Fishkill.
Fishkill Hook, no
Fishkill.
52. That's not 52.
No, it's
Oh,
Fishkill
sorry,
Hook.
Fishkill Hook,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Right, and the lot it fairly drops off.
Right.
And there is some heavy vegetative cover along that side. And if you look at the width of the right-of-way associated with Fishkill Hook Road, it's fairly wide. That's why we actually approached to see if we could obtain some acreage to seek some relief. So that vegetation will remain. So there will be some sort of screening.
What's the distance of that vegetation, though? Give me a
I believe we paced.
linear footage of really how far is that right-of-way? How deep is the right-of-way?
I would say from edge of pavement to the property line are 50 feet, and then
50 or 15?
50 feet.
50.
50 feet from edge of pavement, I would say, to our property line.
Okay.
And then we're another 50 feet from the property line to, let's say, the back corner of the deck. So you're 100 feet from, let's say.
Are you taking, it looks like this property line runs a little diagonal. It's not exactly perpendicular. So are you taking it from the widest distance away, or you're taking it from more closer to the intersection?
Well, the intersection of, if we go from the intersection to the house, is that?
No, I mean,
Okay, the thing is that,
here, come on, look up what I'm looking at. I'm
Okay.
looking at the aerial from parcel access.
all right,
All right? You see?
it's an angle, basically.
Yeah, it's much deeper here than it is here. So that's why I'm asking.
I was taking the average. I was
Okay.
taking it in the middle.
That's why I was asking. That's fine. Thank you. And have we done any kind of noise analysis? What's the noise level associated with traffic on I-84?
It's an interstate highway.
Right.
We have had, again, looking back to recent projects we've done along that corridor, the Gilman subdivision is right across the street. There is one house there that has been recently constructed. If you look at about the same time period, we did the Knapp subdivision, which was the old Knapp gravel mine, which is off of Townsend Road. Those lots are actually closer to, they're about the same proximity from edge of pavement to, let's say, the backyard of the house, and I believe that was an 8-lot subdivision, and all those homes have been sold, and that was over a 2 to 3 year period? 2-year period. So there is noise there. There is a vegetative buffer that I'm sure the applicant's going to want to keep for saleability and marketability of the parcel. So that tree line will remain. I believe you show a limit of disturbance on that plan that shows that vegetation to remain. So the market is there, and the applicant was one of the ones that actually constructed those homes.
So outside of the footprint of the house, how much land is the person who's going to own this home going to have for their backyard before they start hitting the setback requirements?
For,
Your buildable area.
In other words, can they put up a pool?
What's their, well, yeah, I was gonna get there, but not quite yet. What's the potential for them to put a patio? Well, the patio I should build there, okay? But what's their potential for them to be able to do things in their backyard? Put a gazebo up, put, any kind of structure, a shed, thank you.
it will be slightly more limited than a typical lot that has become before the board, but again, it is part of the process. They would have to come before you for an application, just like the majority of the applications before the board tonight.
Are you proposing any deed restrictions on the property so we don't have to be dealing with the fact that buyer beware, then these just aren't going to be allowed?
It's always tough when you ask for a variance on the facts that we have in front of you, because we can't contemplate, or none of us, I think, can contemplate or articulate what might come down the road.
Right.
I think we would be hard pressed to put a deed restriction on that property that would say to any potential owner, we as the original owners have taken away or eliminated your rights to make an application to the ZBA. Quite frankly, I don't think that any restriction that we made along those lines would be able to bear up, because we can't take that right away from a landowner. No, we haven't done that, and I wouldn't propose that we do.
Okay.
Although I do completely understand what the board's goal, I think, is here is to eliminate an issue where someone shows up and says, well, how come I can't put that pool in there? Because you don't want to be the recipient of that frustration. And I do understand about which is the front yard, which is the side yard. And I think that we have the ability to designate which is the front yard, which is the side yard, which is the backyard, as part of the drawing that you ultimately might look at to grant this variance. And I'm not, we can certainly make it as a condition that in the deed that goes out and all contracts that go out in bold print, that the fact that this property is the subject of a variance, that it's an undersized lot that's been permitted to be developed because it has met the standards of this board. By way of disclosure to any potential owner, we certainly would be amenable to anything like that. I would be reluctant to say, as a condition of going forward, that we would put something in as a covenant that says, we have restricted your rights to make an application to the ZBA as everybody else in the town of East Fishkill can.
I would put this along the same lines as somebody who's purchasing one of the lots on Shepherd's Creek, where they're near the shooting range. You know what I mean? Buyer beware. You want them to understand when they're purchasing this property that their ability to do things. The new house that got built off of Jay Lane, their backyard ended up being next to nothing because of the wetlands behind there. So, I really, if you're wishing this board to go forward, I think we as a board would want to be really concerned that whoever's buying this home is well aware of the restrictions of this property, which is why I'm asking the question, really, what is the size of the backyard? For their buildable area outside of the house, outside the footprint of the house. 30 feet?
No, I believe we show, John, what's the standard deck? 10 by 13? 10 by 12? 10 by 12. I believe that's one of the standard decks we do for them. We're showing a 10 by 12 on there. I want to estimate. I believe from the edge of that deck backwards, you probably have an additional 2 feet. Again, I just have the house generically placed on the lot. If we could take that house, we can rotate it slightly. The grade prohibits Fishkill Hook Road and the intersection coming down from Old Fishkill Hook Road really prevent you from accessing the lot from any other way besides the cul-de-sac. So the house is going to face the cul-de-sac. The houses across the street, the way the lots are configured, are going to face this house. So there's going to be conformity there. But I do have the ability to rotate the house slightly. So to do some kind of a structure back there without seeking a permit from the board, you're probably looking at, I could probably squeeze 15, 18 feet additional based upon the rotation of the house.
Okay.
Again, when we make these applications for variances, it's my understanding that the analysis for this board is going to be on the impact of what we're asking for on our neighbors. So we're looking outward from our lot rather than inward. notwithstanding that circumstance, I understand the concern of the board, and it is no difficulty for us to assure that there's disclosure in contract and deed, that the lot is the subject of a variance, and that its physical constraints may limit the ability to create structures in the backyard. It certainly wouldn't eliminate somebody's ability to play football or baseball or walk the dog. We're just talking about putting a structure in there. And so, I mean, I don't think, I get the concern. You don't want someone to show up and say, how come not me? But we can address it. The only way I think we should address it is by disclosure. And adequate disclosure as a condition of this variance would certainly be a condition that, even though I don't think legally can be opposed, we would certainly volunteer to accept, because it would address that concern.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're asking us to grant the variance to make this a buildable lot. And so in this board's review, I don't think it's outside of our purview to look and see whether this truly is a lot that would be quite, not just buildable, but livable, okay?
Listen,
So,
it's not for me to tell this board how to look at this application, certainly
Thank
not. I've heard the concern, and I'm offering and I'm saying to you, because I obviously can't help myself as a lawyer to say, maybe I got a reserve on this issue. But I think the concerns expressed by the board is something we're hearing loud and clear, and we could address with very full disclosure, and we would do that. We would do that in the contract, we would do it in the deed. And if that's an adequate response, if someone has a better idea, we can discuss it.
okay.
I'm sure on both sides, I understand what the chair's indicating and what Mr. Stenger's indicating. I mean, we have the same problem with the legends, right?
Right.
They take up so much easement and setbacks and stuff that somebody comes, wants to put a shed on, and we tell them, no, they don't have enough room. But I think with the notice and title should show where the setback requirements are. I don't know what else can be done. I mean, they can, and that was my concern at the review. We grant you the variance. They actually have room to put a house with the setback requirements, and they gave us a nice little drawing. So I don't know. I think the deed, the statement that it's subject to its undersized lot being a condition that has to be put forth in the contract and the deed, I think that should give enough notice.
And the plan could reference the deed, restriction, whatever has been drawn up.
To the fact that it's surrounded by 4 roadways, doesn't?
Well, I think that's the obvious part.
All right, moving on. Any
Again,
other comments? Go ahead, Izzy.
yeah, I mean, I did a site visit, and I was actually happy to see that the sign was actually placed on Fishkill Hook Road, so that, as opposed to at the cul-de-sac, so you'd still have been, there would be notice, but no visibility. But, so this was, I was happy that it was placed towards the back of the house, so that people that had more visibility. Looking at the land that you have, it's a kind of an odd-shaped parcel, and again, as you have shown, that you basically, with all the setback, you only have a triangular kind of area where you can build this particular house. So, yeah, I mean, you'll have to put some kind of a notice to a potential. I mean, of course, it is extremely visible that you got 84 next to you, and a cul-de-sac and a major road behind you. So, depending on how it is placed. But again, one of the things that, for the record, I think also that if I remember correctly, there is a new development that's going to go up on the same property at the entrance, and I don't know where that particular project is at. So this this road, what you call,
Old Fishkill.
Yeah, Old Fishkill Road is going to become very busy, so that corner that you have, if I remember correctly, there's a development that's going to get access from the Old Fishkill Hook Road. Is that right?
Correct.
And with about 5 to 7 houses?
Yeah, it's not a major development, but it's a minor subdivision.
Yeah, it's a minor subdivision, so that is going to increase traffic up there. So basically, so you'll have, for whoever is buying it, they'll have 84 on one side, and then the other side will have, 4 to 5 or whatever number of houses.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own. I mean, I remember speaking to the realtor who worked with John in Mid-Hudson Development and selling the Knapp subdivision, which is directly adjacent to Route 84. And there are clients out there that want to hear the noise, they want to hear the traffic, and there is a market out there. So I believe somebody who does purchase this lot.
Knapp subdivision is.
Want to hear the traffic?
Believe it or not.
Maybe they don't mind hearing the traffic, but, you know.
I've heard comments that said some of the lots God's honest truth, some of the lots they went to with Mr. Gabriel, they said it's too quiet.
Okay.
So God's honest truth.
Yeah, many of our customers from down south, they live next to highways, so.
Right.
And it's not that bad. I mean, I spent 2 years working over there, and a lot of it depends upon the slope of the highway, whether or not you get brake brakes going off, stuff like that. So Knapp's not that bad. Even, I don't believe there's, I believe it's upward sloping on 84. The Jake brakes will really send the noise through the roof. So as they're going up the hills, they're never on their Jake brakes. So it's, you may have the engines revving up, but it's not overbearing. When you go into that cul-de-sac, you go out there and sit around. Plus 84 is way below, right? And there's almost like a berm right there. It's almost like a, in between 84 and the cul-de-sac. There's a berm that sits there.
Yeah. I mean, I was there, and it is not that noisy, but yeah, 84 you can hear the swishing noise of the vehicles going, but it wasn't that bad. But it was, you could feel the traffic.
You hear it.
Yeah, you can hear it. So, but again, I think as the chair has pointed out, we will need some kind of a limitation restriction notice that it is subject to a variance, and so some kind of a language that between our council and.
Don't expect to put a pool on here.
Correct. Or for example, a huge shed or.
Be careful where you place your shed.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Where's the location of the well?
I believe it's toward where the bridge is.
Three roads, so there's
We're showing the well.
cars,
That's the approved location from the health department.
Close to 84, basically.
That's the opposite side of the septic. Would be on the other side of the house. All right, other comments or questions from board members? Is there anyone here to speak for or against the request from Mid-Hudson Development Corp. to requesting a variance to build on an undersized lot located at 6 Old Fishkill Hook Road?
Hi. William Waters, 7 Old Fishkill Hook Road. I'm the one house that they mentioned that's across the street. When I first bought the lot before I built my house, I did some research and I found out that that lot didn't meet zoning requirements, unbuildable. So that's one of the things that I liked about it was the privacy between Fishkill Hook Road. I also, look at it as the corner lot. There's so much going on. It's so busy. Fishkill Hook Road, there's a lot of houses out there. This house is going to be a main entrance out into Wikipedia. You have a high drop, that comes down. There's a guardrail that drops significantly. So you're going to drive into Wikipedia. You're going to see the backyard. It's so close to the road. You're going to see the roof of the house. I just don't think aesthetically it's the nicest entrance into Wikipedia as far as, you're going to see this house close to the roads. Also, on my side of the road, the hill is nice. There's a nice barrier, a ledge that drops down and keeps it the sound barrier. As you go onto their side, especially close to the bridge, you could actually see the traffic of 84 through there, and that's a significant spot where the noise comes through. The noise comes from that area right there. There's no real sound barrier. Also, the drainage in that area, now it's a very dry time of year. Things are drier than usual, but there's a culvert pipe that goes underneath Old Fishkill Hook Road to the other side. And if you look down on the one side of Fishkill Hook, you'll see where it's dried up. There's like a muddy, cracked basin. And that pipe, when you get water, there's a constant flow of water at the back line of that property, like a stream, and it comes across and it goes to that culvert pipe, and then if the other side's backed up with water, it starts backing up in the lower part of that property. Now that property is a pretty low elevation. I looked up the topography. I saw 250 in a lot of spots. So that's low. I don't know how it perked out with the deep hole tests or anything, but I know the water table's not far below with my perk tests when they were done at 256 and 258 and at 7 feet, you're getting seepage, and that was in April of, I believe, 2006. So, my house is a 3,100 square foot house. The Saxon Woods, I believe, there's going to be 12 lots, from what I understood. It was 12 lots that will be in the road that goes into the back. So there will be a lot of traffic. The lots are pretty good size. I think most of those lots were about 3 acres, some bigger ones. And I'm not sure how this is going to fit into the conformity of the rest of the neighborhood. I could take a bath on my house because of the cost, my house, and then you have a small ranch across the street on this really irregular shaped, odd lot that was something that was left over from something else, I think. It's just a very weird lot. I'd also be concerned too the distance of the septic system from my well, which is in the front yard, and if it was going to be downhill from that septic system at all. That I don't think a septic system has been designed recently. I didn't see any deep hole tests or anything where it's current.
You're at a lower elevation or you're at a higher elevation? I thought you said you were at a higher one.
I should be at a higher elevation, but if they have to bring in a fill section for the septic system, because that water table is not far below, they have to bring a fill section, and that's going to raise it up. And with the water table being close, it's going to go it's going to soak down into that ground pretty.
Okay.
There's not rock. We had to go like over 100 feet to hit rock for so when they were well drilling. So it's a far drop. So I'm more concerned about how it's just going to look and how it benefits the community by granting this. Is this really what's going to look the best going into the main entrance of Wikipedia? I mean, I'm not going to like seeing how it looks, I don't think. It's a very weird lot. Some lots are just unbuildable. It's one thing if it was more of a rectangle and it didn't butt up on 4 roads, to ask for a variance. So, that size, I don't think that would be a big deal. But when you're dealing with such, impacts of the road, I mean, 84s whizzing by, and they're going fast, and you could hear them on my side of the street too. At night you're hearing boom, you hear stuff. And it's pretty close. So that's even going to be closer. That will be the closest lot to 84. And there's no rock ledge. That one spot, that's the spot you can see the traffic through, right there. And the vegetation, I mean, there is some, but there's really not that much. It's young vegetation for the most part. And even now, more once the leaves are falling off, you could really see things a lot clearer. See both Fishkill Hook Road and 84.
But you do understand that the lot next to you that's vacant right now which is closer to 84, they can build another house.
Right. Well, they meet the requirement of 1 acre. That was
Correct.
part of the subdivision that I purchased my lot from Glenn Gilman, that's the Gilman subdivision. So he still owns that lot, and that's he meets the requirements. It's a much different situation. It's one road, a very quiet road, a dead end, and his house there. It's not, and there is that ledge. There's a big rock ledge that drops down on the other side where 84 is. So that gives you a nice sound barrier right there.
But again, the applicant's if the applicant's property was 1 acre, for example, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. I mean, the lot is the way it is. And again, one of the reasons I went there, and again, one of the things that I had, I raised one of the earlier, maybe in the review, that the cul-de-sac is there, and the cul-de-sac, the way it is shaped, it takes up more property from the applicant's side than from the other side. If there was even a tenth of an acre or whatever, the small proportion that's available, if it was like a teardrop shape, if the cul-de-sac was a teardrop shape taking up space from the lot that's vacant, then we wouldn't have this issue.
Well, the cul-de-sac does take up space a lot in the subdivision. On the map of the subdivision, it actually, now he put gravel down. He didn't blacktop it. But when that house is built, that house is going to change. That's a full circle turnaround. It's going to be a full, right now he just put down some item 4, and that was fine for this before he builds his house. But it's going to be a full circle. If you look up on the subdivision, it's not just a half like you see there. It's a full circle. They want
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Not fully constructed yet.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
fully constructed.
No, I was there and I was trying to figure out if there was some
Yeah.
solution to the
Yeah,
situation.
it shows you a good part, like on that map, the Gilman subdivision.
Okay.
It shows you a big circle and a big part on his. Yeah.
So I guess this issue was addressed a while back, I guess, Council?
Are you, let's
Yeah.
finish,
Oh, yeah,
let's
yeah,
let the
yeah.
speakers
Okay.
finish.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so those are my concerns with the property. I'm just really, I don't think it does much for the community to really benefit the community. I think that's something the zoning department should see in this, is that it's on 4 roads. It's a very odd, weird lot. It was left over from something else that was done across the street. Richard Barger was involved in something else when
It's actually the construction of Route 84.
yeah, so it was something that was left over from a bigger piece of property that they sold, and they didn't want this piece, from what I understood.
No, it's the construction of Route 84. They came in, they took some property, right?
Well, they split the property up, which happens at a lot of places. They probably came in between with the new overpass and extended Fishkill Hook. They changed the road. The old Fishkill Hook went across, and then they put.
In the
Okay.
60s, they built
let's
Route
let the
84.
app-
Yeah.
let's
That's
let
what
the-
happened. It was part of a big hunting club and stuff, and they
Yeah.
got cut off, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's let our speakers speak.
So, yeah, that's my concern. I just don't think it really does much to benefit the community. It's not going to benefit the value of my house, a 1,800 square foot house, a smaller house that's next across the street from mine. And looking down at up on Fishkill Hook Road, you're going to see it. It's so close to the road. Let's say something does happen. There's an accident. And somebody goes over that guardrail. Then is the town responsible because they granted the variance legally? That they said, well, you said it was okay for them to build, and there's an accident. I mean, that's a steep drop from up on Fishkill Hook Road. If a car goes over that bank, and that's not a very high guardrail. That could happen, and it could go down, hit the house or somebody in the yard. And 84 is close also, and there's no real restraint. I don't believe in that one spot. I could see straight through.
Okay. Before you sit down, can we please ask you to sign in?
Sure.
Please print your name. Anybody else? Brian?
Uniquely familiar with Mr. Utter's lot. I actually did the soil test personally out there, and actually inspected the soil for Bill as part of his septic fill certification to the health department. With respect to drainage issues out there, yes, there is a culvert that does cross Old Fishkill Hook Road. We do show it on the plan. Again, this parcel does have health department approval. Deep tests were done. They weren't done recently, but they were done back when Mr. Barger first bought the parcel. So it did go through the process. The culvert was there at the time. The drainage issues were there at the time. So the health department did look at that. With respect to that culvert, I believe we're about 8 to 10 feet higher with the house construction. So there is a bit of elevation change. I believe on the original health department approval, it's an in-ground septic system, so they had to go down at least 5 feet before they hit water to approve an in-ground system.
So there's no fill coming in?
With no fill coming in, correct.
Okay.
So that aspect of the project was looked at and engineered. With respect to the size of the house, I believe we showed an 1,800 square foot footprint, including the deck. We would like to build a 2-story house here. The house is not limited to a ranch-style house. It's just one of the patterns that I picked for the lot. So I mean, a colonial house could go here very easily. With respect to cars coming off of Fishkill Hook Road, down and coming and hitting the house, again, if we go back to the width of the right-of-way, that's along Fishkill Hook Road. It's fairly wide. We're not planning on taking all the trees down. The applicant wants to leave as much vegetative cover, both old and young, as he can for marketability. As far as the aspect of coming into being the gateway into Wikipe, if you look at the opposite side of the road, again, there's a lot more vegetation and clearing going on with the older style homes out there. Again, this is new construction. I've never seen new construction of a 3,000 or 2,500 square foot house actually bring property values down. So I just want to make those points. I want to be clear on those points. just to inform the board.
He did also mention that there's no natural barrier to I-84, and so the noise actually gathers here, and there's more of a visual of I-84 from this property. Any comment to that?
Again, we're going to leave as much vegetative cover along that side of the property as we can.
Okay.
If it's a matter of planting a couple of pine trees, I'm sure the applicant would be amenable to that. Again, he's going to be looking to sell this house too, so he's going to want to try to provide as much visual barrier from 84 as he can.
Any comments or questions from board members?
Yeah, again, the thing is, because when I was there physically, it was a teardrop. I mean, it was an odd-shaped cul-de-sac. But again, and that was an issue because I did not see it.
Yeah, let me speak to that.
Yeah.
If Bill referenced the Gilman subdivision, it's a two-lot subdivision. In order to make that subdivision work dimensionally, acreage-wise, we came up with a maintenance agreement easement over the front of Bill's property and Mr. Gilman's property. So there is an actual radius that has been detailed. There's an improvement plan that was put into effect, and when that lot is actually constructed on, that radius will be improved. There's a plan that goes behind that, and there's some legal documents and an easement that was filed with the county clerk's office.
That's a maintenance agreement by the owners, or is that going to be a town road? or what is it?
It was a maintenance agreement to the town.
Okay.
If the board has any more questions for myself or Mr. Stokosa, we stand ready to address them. If not, I would ask the board to close this hearing, but in making that request, I would also like to look at this record in terms of the two outstanding prongs, if you will, that I did not address. I think Mr. Stokosa's testimony, based a very detailed testimony, with respect to the size of lots in that neighborhood, the quality and the nature of the residential housing in that neighborhood, shows that the proposed use of this property is consistent with the uses that are already there. And I think that the last piece is, does the grant of this variance create an adverse effect, environmental or otherwise, on neighbors? And although there's been discussion of noise here today, there's been no statement that this approval would increase that level of noise. Although there's been statements about seeing traffic, there's been no evidence that would increase traffic, and there's no evidence at all whatsoever that the grant of this approval, which would only allow us to go get a building permit, so you'd still have to comply with everything else that's required under zoning, would in any way, in any fashion, adversely affect the value of anybody's house in that neighborhood. So it's not that Brian says, I can't imagine how it could happen. It's really, the burden is for someone to say how it could happen. And that hasn't happened on this record. So those are the points that I wanted to summarize, not add, but summarize. And thank you very much for your hearing this evening. And if there's no further comment, we'd ask that the board would close the public hearing. And if you close and reserve on your decision, or however you wish to proceed, we would be very happy for it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, could I just mention?
Come on, back up to the microphone, please.
I'm not sure is the Board of Health approval is current or not, because sometimes on the, they expire, they only go so long
I
without.
think Mr. Stokosa has already mentioned that it's been renewed.
It is. It's good, okay. And then also with the vegetation and the trees, I mean, they're very young trees. There's not much mature, it's all small trees that are there as far as.
But is that because of the nature of the groundwater, high groundwater?
That could be.
There hasn't been any construction over there. So
No,
there should
no.
be some mature trees.
Well, there is nothing real big if you were to look at it. No, it's probably to deal with the groundwater. And also, right on the other side, you're in the floodplain. Right on the other side of Fishkill Hook Road is the floodplain. This water does flow to a wetland area. And with the construction of the house, could this actually increase the flow and increase the water into this wetland? And how would it, impact any thing downstream? That could be a bit of a concern too, because you're, constructing a house, blacktop driveway, roof, and taking away some of the impervious surface.
We're adding impervious surface.
Correct.
Yeah.
You've been living there for several years. Have you seen water collecting by the cul-de-sac or on this property or anything like that?
The water is basically when you come down Fishkill Hook Road, Old Fishkill Hook and the start where you go down the hill, that's where the water is going to collect. Now, it is very wet over there, and especially because that stream of water, I'm not sure where it comes from, either 84 or from up on Fishkill Hook Road, but that water does come down and it feeds into where that culvert pipe is, and that's where you're going to have water sitting. If it can't get through the culvert pipe, and you have times of the year where there's a lot of water in the spring and so forth. Right now it's so dry, it's much different. But if you look on the other side and you look down in that basin, you can actually see where there's a spot where there's usually water there. It's dried up, the mud's cracked, and it's a very wet property. I mean, that's why I'm surprised it perked out for the septic system, just because it is so low too. I'm surprised with the septic.
Do the wetlands actually, thank you, do the wetlands actually encroach on, are they on this property or no? Is a buffer on there? No?
It's on the other side of the Fishkill Hook.
There are no wetlands on the property. There is no buffer encroachment on the property.
The map that was provided as part of Mr. Stanger's letter just shows that they're close by. It's just hard without the property lines on this map to identify whether they're actually on the lot or not.
Not that new parcel.
Microphone,
The new
please.
parcel that they're developing across the street.
Right?
That's the limitation on the lot count associated with that subdivision, and it's
Got it.
largely the DEC wetland buffer that encroaches onto that piece, but they are across the street.
Okay. Well, it looks like they're on two sides.
Right. And
Okay.
just for the record, we're talking about water on the property. Again, when we do these health department soil tests, they look for seasonally high groundwater. They look for a condition called mottling. That's where there's a discoloration in the soil at a various depth where the water sits for a period of time, so it indicates high groundwater. Again, this is an in-ground septic system, and the septic system is lower than the proposed elevation of the house because we have gravity flow. So I just want to make that part of the record.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would just be concerned about the septic with the water table, knowing the area, knowing when my perk tests and the topography over there, what the perk tests were at that topography, which is higher than the other side of the road, and we hit water at 7.6, and I believe you want the septic system to be 5 foot above the water table. So I would be a little concerned with that. And also, just again, I know that they mentioned that it's 1 acre, it's like very similar to the other lots, but in a lot of ways it's very different because of the fact of the 4 roads. And this, how you're visually going to see this, it's a big, it's a big change. I mean, this is a very odd lot, a very weird shaped lot. It's not a normal lot. It's not a rectangle. It's not a square. It's got 4 roads, which is extremely weird. For the size, and it's a tricky lot, and it makes some lots are not buildable, and it really is one of those that is a question, because I don't see how it's really going to benefit the community to have this project and drive out to Wikipedia and look on somebody's roof or somebody's back deck or into their picture window and just see it so close to the road and the way the house is placed and so forth. Really shift mine.
I just want to add one more thing. When we did the Gilman subdivision, it was a 2-acre parcel. We cut it in half, 1 acre, 1 acre. Then the question came up on what to do with the cul-de-sac. And if we did a right-of-way dedication and dedicated the circle for the cul-de-sac, to have that improved, it would have taken away from the acreage on the Gilman subdivision. So we wouldn't have had 2 acres if we did the right-of-way dedication to the town. So we provided an easement with a maintenance agreement to the town. So I just want to make sure that that's on the record.
Okay. Anything new to say?
Well, I just want to make reference, I guess, again to that 4-road difference between the
And
Gilman.
we've heard you, really.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Strong.
Thank you. All right, comments, board members, action? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to close the public hearing and reserve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We will try to get to it next month, but we may need to have a discussion, I'm not sure. All right?
If there's not going to be any action, someone will, in other words, if you need another month to reach your determination, someone will advise us, so we just don't show up?
Yeah, actually, this time, we actually would have time. 62 days could get us to December 9th, so we'll let you know.
We're adjourned till November, right?
You're adjourned, well, no, you're,
You're adjourned for a decision. We have 62 days to do it.
Right.
Hopefully, we have it next month.
Okay. Thank you.
okay? We'll try for next month.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Item number 5, Appeal 3696 Feely. Just for the record, for folks, the applicant here has withdrawn his application in this case because of the additional mailings that had to go out. There is no refund, though, being requested. All right, so item number 6, Appeal 3702 Buckner, Mary Buckner, 170 Peckslip Road. Holmes is requesting to build on an undersized lot, .68 acre in a 3-acre zone, which was subdivided prior to zoning on a non-town road, Windy Hill, pursuant to section 194-130 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, good evening. All right, when we discussed this, we did review this last month, and we made it very clear that this actually was created, first off, there are other undersized lots on this street. We did have a discussion about whether Windy Hill was town-owned, town-maintained, whatever it was. Pam clarified for the board members that it is not a town-owned road, but it is a town-maintained road.
Okay.
But that these lots, these undersized lots, were actually created by planning board approval. So it was expected that these lots would actually be built on at the time that the planning board acted on this, whenever that was. So, so for the record, at this point, you're just looking to get approval to move forward with the construction on one of these lots. Questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak for or against the application by Mary Buckner, 170 Peckslip Road, Holmes, requesting to build on an undersized lot subdivided prior to zoning on a non-town road, Windy Hill? Yes, come on up. Folks, if we can ask you to sit down. Good evening.
My name is Debbie Mern, and I and my husband own the corner lot that sits adjacent to the property. And I just wanted to keep my thoughts focused, so I wrote a little statement here. Okay. I grew up in Lake Carmel in Putnam County, and there the houses were extremely close together. So when I got married 20 years ago, my husband and I decided to move to East Fishkill because we knew it would be quiet and private and a very rural setting for our family to grow up in. At the time, there were very few houses on this road, and it was very private, as I said. The road was paved years later, and that's when the lots were starting to be approved to be built upon. Since then, we've had 4 houses already approved and built, and that's greatly changed the complexion of the hill. It's not a long road, so it's greatly opened up what's there. This will be the 5th house that they're looking to have approved on the hill, and I'm the one who has the most to lose from its approval. The previous owner of my house built my house 35 years ago. And it was approved then at an angle that puts my house, the back of it, facing this property. He also, at that time, or somewhere along the line of his ownership, cleared some of this adjoining property that belongs to the Buckners, and it was left unchecked for many, many years. So now, as a result, there's no vegetation to act as a buffer between the 2 properties. And so if this is approved, this house is all I'm going to see out the back of my house. And with the proximity to my property, there will be no more privacy in my backyard. But in addition to worrying about the privacy issue for my yard, I'm very concerned about the impact on the value of my house, because I'm concerned about my ability to sell it in the future. I'm concerned about people moving to this area looking for that same privacy and rural aspect that I was looking for, and they're not going to find it in my property anymore. And I'm concerned about the fact that if we keep allowing these homes to be built on our road, that the quiet neighborhood we once have is going to continue to be lost as these houses are built.
Okay. When you bought your property, were you aware that there were other lots on the street?
No. No, it was all woods at that point.
But there were...
I'm sure there were, but...
lots already there.
Right, but not with the understanding that once the road was paved, that then all of this would happen.
Okay.
questions.
How big is your lot? There's another .68.
I believe it's a little over 3/4 of an acre. So yes, it's not the 3 acres that is.
Before you sit down, if you don't mind, if we could have you print your name. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Rocco Manella, and I live on 3 Joseph Road, right on the other corner,
Behind,
opposite to where this house is, and I don't agree with it either. I was the first house up there when I first moved there. I was there when the people that this lady bought the house from moved the road and all. When I bought it, it was all private. This house goes in on the side of my property. Their second story will be looking right down in my backyard, and it'll be infringing on my family's privacy and all. And the other thing that I'd like to know is, has anybody did an impact on what the septic systems will do? You have, within 3 building lots of your zoning laws, you have 10 houses. Does DEC go along with that? Since they got regulations on the water and all, the water table? And I also would like to be noted that if there's any other problems, because their well will be probably about 100 feet away from my septic system. So I want it to be noted that my system has been here before there was any other houses around.
There's got to be more of a separation than that, so. Okay, so you're saying you think that your well is only going to be 100 feet away from the new septic?
No, my septic system's
Your
right on
septic.
the side of the house where they're gonna be
Where they're
building
gonna put the well,
their
their
house.
well, okay,
And their well will be in their front yard,
okay.
which will be right in proximity to my septic system. So if there's any problems down the road, I want to note it that I was there way before any of these houses.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Thank you.
If you can please sign in. The applicant again, if you don't mind, how far away, where's the well gonna be? Because the separation's gonna
We
be,
have a sewage disposal system designed and approved by DEP, and,
no, by near, how about Westchester County Board of Health?
excuse me?
How about the, sorry, Dutchess County
We
Health
have Board of
Department?
Health approval on a lot.
Working too long.
It's been a long day. So you have Health Department approval?
You have a site plan there? You have a site plan for your lot
Yeah,
there?
it's been.
We had the preliminary plan. The site plan will be developed once we get the approval to build on the land. Then we'll go to the building department.
You're on
The
lot-
footprint of the house is shown on the plans that we submitted. I have it if you would like me to show it to you.
I think there are only like maybe 2 more lots that are still left to be developed.
You're on lot 2?
No, we are-
Lot 256.
Lot 1.
They're lot one.
Lot 1, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
In regard to,
256.
in regard
Just list
to,
there's the questions.
in regard to the issue with privacy and the woods, you know, being, the environment's going to change, and I understand that. But that first house that's on the top of Windy Hill, the first house, Merman, you know, they've been there for a very long time. They had the opportunity, our woods have provided beautiful screening for many, many years.
Right.
Individual property owners have the opportunity to plant a row of trees or to put up a privacy fence or whatever they would choose for their privacy. You know, yes, this will change the environment, but they can still go forward and do that.
Right. Okay, but let me see if there's any other comments.
Okay.
Are there any other neighbors that wish to speak? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'm good.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Wanna go?
Appeal number 3702, the applicant and Mary Buckner. It's a 17-foot sideline variance for an existing 12 by 8.
No, that's mislabeled. It's not, something happened.
What happened here?
Yeah, but we,
Hold on. Go ahead.
Second try.
It's 170 Peckslip Road in Holmes is requested to build on an undersized lot. So it's a .68 acre in a 3-acre zone, which was subdivided prior to zoning pursuant to section 194-130 of the zoning ordinance.
It's the one for San Marco. You know what, I started it and I didn't finish it. That's right. And the resolution.
The resolution. So the resolution is being offered by zoning board member Tara Franco, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for requesting to build on an undersized lot pursuant to section 194-130 of the zoning ordinance. Whereas this action is a type 2 action under secret and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News on September 24th, 2014, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on October 14, 2014, whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of this variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, as it is
As the lot was
Undersized.
consistent, yeah.
You can just pick it up.
As the lot was undersized and is consistent with the other lots in the neighborhood.
For many years.
For many years.
Right.
As subdivided.
Prior to zoning.
The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means. The variance requested is not substantial and was not self-created. And the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the request made by Mary Buckner at 170 Pecksville Road, Holmes, to build on an undersized lot, .6 acres, which was subdivided prior to zoning, pursuant to section 194-130 of the zoning ordinance. Therefore, be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the owner or applicant.
Second.
Thank you. Votes as follows, Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara? Aye. And myself, aye. So your motion carries. Okay. Okay. Item number 7 is Appeal 3703 Behringer, Donald and Patricia Behringer, 6 Acorn Lane, Hopewell Junction, are requesting a 35-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 14-foot shed and a 44-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 23-foot shed pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good evening. All right, so we did review this at our last hearing. You have actually some mobile homes on this property. And so the way your lot is, it's a very, very narrow lot, deep-wise.
Right.
And so your ability to put a
To put it in
shed.
the front would be not very appealing.
Correct. And it actually makes it more visible, so.
Right.
So
And the property behind is wooded. It doesn't affect anyone, and there's, so one side, I'd say there's at least 75 feet before you get close to their property.
Right.
On the other side, there's at least 100 feet before you get to that property. The front of the house, even though it's not that wide for where the road goes in, the property that we actually own is across the street, and it's pretty much 50% swamp.
Right. So, I mean, it's so realistically, like you said, the back of your lot is completely wooded.
And these sheds have been, like the shed that I have on the house that I'm in has been there for 23 years, probably longer because it was there when I purchased.
Right.
And then the shed next door, I believe the original 14, it was like 10 and a half by 14, was there for the whole time also.
Right.
And probably 12 or 13 years ago, there was Jerry Doucette that was living in that mobile
Right.
home, that home burnt down. He added that 9 foot in the back.
Okay.
So we never added or built any of
Okay,
the
so when-
structure.
Which is important actually for the record, that this
Right.
is not, the conditions that are there now are really not, they were there pre-existing from when you got the property and began living there, so. All right, any comments or questions from board members?
I'm good.
Is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Donald and Patricia Berenger, 6 Acorn Lane, Hopewell Junction, requesting a 35-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 14-foot shed and a 44-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 23-foot shed? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And?
All right, this is appeal number 3703, applicant Donald and Patricia Berenger requesting a 35-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 14-foot shed and a 44-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 23-foot shed pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance, located at 6 Acorn Lane in Hopewell Junction. Resolution offered by zoning board member Barbara Barosa. Whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 35-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 14-foot shed and a 44-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 23-foot shed pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News on September 24, 2014, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on October 14, 2014, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, as this is a pre-existing lot with 2 manufactured homes on it. Should we say that the sheds were pre-existing?
No, it's not self-created, that's where that would go.
Okay. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means. The variance requested is not substantial, and this was not self-created
As the sheds were already on the property, were not placed on the property by the applicant. How about that?
Sounds good. The proposed area variance will not have any adverse effects or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the request made by Donald and Patricia Berenger, 6 Acorn Lane, Hopewell Junction, who are requesting a 35-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 14-foot shed and a 40-foot rear line variance for a 10-foot by 23-foot shed pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance.
Is there a second? Oh, go ahead.
Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Now is there a second?
Second.
Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara? Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So your motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, so we're now done with the public hearing, so the rest of our agenda is reviews, which is just a discussion with the board, no public comments on them. We first have item number 8, which is Appeal 3688 for Karen Henshaw, where they've actually withdrawn the application. I need a motion from the board to refund $70 to the applicant.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aye. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so item number 9, Appeal 3698, Shortino, thank you. I'll spell that out now. Shortino. Michael Shortino, 10 Orbit Lane, Hopewell Junction, requesting a variance to allow a proposed 12-foot by 16-foot shed to be located in front of his house pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. All right, good evening.
Good evening. I brought some more pictures.
Okay, good,
it's on
thank
my
you.
laptop.
Yeah, this is where we had some serious concerns about where you were proposing to place the shed.
Right.
Because it's just, in our opinion, I think that based on our discussion, it's just gonna be out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I'm looking at it.
Okay, so,
This is my house up here. It's all hill back there.
understood.
So
Can you see?
This is the driveway going up to my house, and it's going to be placed over here. This is on my property, when I go back up here, there's no place to put it. This is going up to my house, it's all hill back here.
So why can't it go there?
That's the septic field right there.
Oh, okay.
This is all septic fields right
And the
here.
septic field goes all the way back to the slope?
Yes, 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 the pipe from the house, you know, the tankers right there.
Okay, so why not over there then?
Over here?
Back.
Well,
Tucked-
this
tucked
is all
in-
the septic fields back here.
All right.
The land, and there's a lot of water runoff that comes down this hill. There's houses up here, there's another street, and a lot of water.
But you have a house, you have your neighbor's house right here, right?
I'll show you the neighbor's
I mean, according to the pictures that you gave us.
This is where the shed would be. My neighbor's house is back here. It sits way up on a hill. His house is located. His house sits high up from mine. The shed would be
The
below.
picture that you gave us, whose house is that?
That's his, but it's way up on a hill.
Well, but you're superimposing it on a picture that's showing his house. So
Well, the house
that's
is-
why we're.
Well, I didn't realize, you know, that you were gonna take this into consideration. I mean, I would've brought pictures.
We asked you for
different
pictures
angle.
last time.
Right, I mean, I just.
You're taking an angle from here, where you see the house. That's an angle coming down the driveway, it looks like.
Way up on the hill.
Is this his driveway?
Yeah, his driveway and it curves all the way up.
Right. And so are there any trees more than what I'm seeing in this picture? So he's gonna be looking at your shed.
Well, I'm gonna put trees up too. I'm gonna landscape.
Okay. You've got to tell us, what are you
Oh,
proposing
yeah,
to
I'm
do?
gonna do landscaping. I mean, I've been clearing trees. This whole lot was nothing but, it was like a dumping ground. It was dead trees, stumps. I've been clearing the lot out for like
Okay.
the past year, just to do this. This was like a swamp. It was all trees, overhanging.
Put a swamp on it.
Well, I mean, it was always water.
Well, if the water's coming down from the hill, it's got to go somewhere.
There was never
you
any
know?
sun.
Okay, but you've got to tell us, what are you proposing for landscaping? Something, I mean,
Pine
3-foot
trees.
bushes or?
Pine trees.
Pine trees grow and then you see underneath them, so that's not going to help.
Other kinds of evergreens might.
Yeah, arborvitae's, but the deer will eat them, you know, you've got to come up with something that's really going to screen this.
My neighbor already said he doesn't have a problem with the shed being there. I spoke to him about it.
Yeah, but he's
The problem
not,
is, you know,
he's
a
not
new
always
lot
gonna be
may
your
be a
neighbor.
qualified, but generally
Well, this is from
sheds
the
are not in
street.
front of houses for good
This
reason.
is where the shed would be, and this is his house. I mean, it's far away.
doesn't matter, it's still very visible. Does anybody else on your street have a shed?
Yeah,
That's
2
this
houses
visible in
down.
front of their house?
Well, it's on the other side of the street, you can see the roof. But it's in the
You see
front.
the roof, it's not, it's in front of the house,
It's just like how I want to do it. The house is here and the shed is there.
it's behind the rear line. Doesn't have to be behind the house so you can't see it, it has to be behind the rear line of the house.
Is it in front of his house?
His house is here and the shed is here. And,
Here, is his lot on here?
5, number 5.
It's not, now these are,
Here, 12 by 18. Here's my house.
I think you got about 1.3 acres, so I maybe a site visit might be.
yeah, well, might make sense.
Might make sense because, pardon me?
I went out.
Okay, you did it well.
Okay, and
It's very flat, it's very visible.
very visible.
Is there other place to put it?
Only where the septic is, I would say.
That's the question, I mean, just because your tank's there, you can put it near your tank without being on top of it.
Does it make sense to put it on the other side of the house? It's not-
There's nothing over there.
There's nothing there?
You're talking about right here? What is?
I don't
Over here or over
know,
here?
I can't see the angle of the picture that you've got there.
This is my driveway. The house is right over here, and this is coming down. It's a short drop.
Okay, go back to
Right
that
here.
picture, go back to that picture. So why can't it be placed right there?
This is a hill going up. It's a short, it's like a little pit right there. There's nowhere to put it.
All right, the angle that you have that screen is, I'm really not seeing well, so, okay. So, but again, you can level it on one side to get it up so that you could blend it into the trees there.
You talking about over here? This is what you're talking about over here. It's just a steep.
This is your driveway, your house is here?
Right. My
Yeah,
house
so,
is right here.
so,
It wouldn't fit there. It's
and
just-
so you're telling me right behind those trees, it wouldn't fit there?
No.
This
no,
way?
No, I would have to come in and cut out part of the slope. It's a big, the slope is like right here.
Yeah, I see it
Or
starting.
put a truckload of fill. Or
That's
make it the same
right.
height.
I think we
You
need
could level,
solution.
you could level it off, that's what we're saying.
Well, septic fields are right here. I mean, I don't think you're supposed to put anything above them.
You're not, but you're not gonna have trees this
Your septic
large on
field's
top of
not-
your septic
yeah.
field,
That's where it
so.
was built, I know, I mean.
Your septic field's in the flat section to the left of what we're saying. That's why it's flat.
We're
They put
saying
your
tuck
pipes
it in the
in,
tree.
and they made it flat. We're telling you to put it in that little gully next to it.
I mean, there's nothing but water in that little gully. It comes down the hill. Right here you're talking about? There's no way
Yeah.
to put it.
This is the back.
Unless you're talking about right here, I mean.
No, I'm saying actually right behind those two trees.
Yeah, he wants to put it there, we're telling him to put it here.
Right behind the two trees is a slope.
Can't
What
be
size
septic
shed are
in
you
this.
asking?
Well,
For a 12 by
12 by
16?
Huge shed.
Put it there, you don't need a variance, so.
It won't fit that.
Yeah, I think we need to give up, I think last time we talked about it, and we need some, options. Right now, you're only giving us, you're not giving us any option.
Could you fit a 10-foot by 12-foot shed there
No, I
instead of
already-
12-foot by 16?
I already bought the shed. I didn't know it was gonna be such a problem. I mean, I could move it down closer to down over here, but it's closer to his property, but it would be more up against the slope. I mean, I just,
It's gonna be less conspicuous the closer you can put it to the trees. And
Well-
like I said, back there, you probably don't even need a variance.
I don't think it'll fit over there. It's like a little triangle right there. It wouldn't fit over there.
Well, then you gotta tell us, provide a landscaping plan to show us what you're proposing to put around it, to show how you're gonna screen it.
And we need pictures of why, we need a full picture of why you say you can't go while we're going there. We're gonna go out and take a look at it. Looks big enough to me.
Even
Just
if
from your
it's back
picture, it looks big
here.
enough.
Just so it's.
I mean, if you could, put some stakes in the
He wants it
ground,
right
and
here
I'll
as
come up and
turnaround.
take a
That's
visit
what
and
he
see
wants.
But if you could.
what you're proposing, how big you're proposing, and why
I
it
have
works
all
or doesn't
drainage-
work.
There's drainage pipes that
You can
come.
put drainage under the shed.
It's all soft ground over there.
You want it at your turnaround, so it's convenient, so you have the blacktop there and everything, but I don't know. It's way in front of your house.
Yeah, it's way too
Way
big,
in
yeah.
front.
Way,
It's on the side of my house, it's on the front of my house.
It's in the front line, it's the front line of your
Front
house.
line of the
When you
house.
say front, we're talking about the front line.
I can put it over here, I mean, is that a problem? I can move it here. This is-
Again, I can't see. The angle that you have, you've got too far back, so you can move it.
Okay.
Be careful.
I mean,
Where?
I can move it further over here.
I thought, that's what we suggested first, and you said
Oh,
your
you
septic is there.
Well,
Then I suggested putting it
Here,
behind those
here is
trees.
just, there's just no room there. I mean, I would have to get a tractor.
To the extent you can tuck it into the trees, well, it's still gonna be in front of the rear line, instead of the front line of the house.
I think
But
this
at
is,
least it's,
yeah. Site visit or better photographs or reasoning, I don't see anything.
you see this?
I do. I see it,
Okay.
yeah.
The more you can tell us, you can tuck it into those trees. I just think it becomes less conspicuous, it becomes more in keeping with the house. Wherever, in the front, oops, wow, I don't know what I did. Me and technology are just.
This is what,
Okay, so this is what you're talking about, this is the area we were asking for.
right.
So why can't it go right in this area? You fill it up, you put gravel, put something that's gonna drain underneath it, level it off and put it there. Why not there?
Yeah, like right around here.
Right.
Over here, I can't, that's just a drop off right there. Down here, I
Jim, are
can.
you seeing this?
Down here, I can. And,
Here's those trees.
Yeah.
So why can't we
Yeah, that's what I'm
raise that
saying.
up?
One truckload of dirt.
I mean, it's not
You don't
even that
even
you
have
even
to
have
do
to,
that.
you don't even have to put it with item
This
four.
is here,
You
this is your
just-
driveway. You put the front of the shed on here, the
Right.
same height, and the back of your shed's up in the air.
And you put shrubs around it.
And you get those,
You screen it.
you get the form, what you call it, the circular forms, your footing forms, and you put it on the footing form, fill it with concrete. Costs you $5.
You mean put the shed on this concrete here?
No.
Facing it here, but
Facing.
having it go back. I don't know which way is the doors on the 12-foot side or the 16-foot side?
12-foot side.
Okay, so it's gonna be facing this way for the 12 feet, 16 feet going back, but you don't necessarily have to fill it. We're just saying.
You got a floor on the shed, right?
Put some kind of footings on it and screen the footings. Put some shrubs around it.
You're saying have it hang off the edge of the driveway?
We're saying have it meet the driveway. I'm not saying have it hang off the driveway.
Well, the back's gonna be elevated.
There's a huge drop. I mean, it would have to be like.
So it's 3 feet, so the back corner's up 3 feet on one side.
We could do that, I guess. I just have to pay somebody like this. I don't know. Someone come in and look. This is all the slope going down, and it's all very soft.
Well, what is this itself? What is that? Driveway, correct?
That's my driveway.
So you got rock here. How soft
soft
can it
is
be?
it gonna be?
I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me what you're saying.
And you're not gonna put your septic in a
If they break
system
going up
that's
to the edge of
soft.
your driveway, it'd be easy access to your house.
If you came up here and looked, you know what I'm talking about. This is just drops. This drops right off after
Yeah.
about 5 feet.
Okay.
It just drops off.
Are you gonna be around this weekend?
Yeah.
I'll make it a point to come in there this weekend.
Okay.
Okay?
Do a little cut on one side and it's 3 feet up in the other corner. I don't know.
To the extent that you can stake it out, put stakes in the ground, so we don't have to stand there in measurement, that would be very helpful, and, I'll get in and out, okay? But that's, personally, I think that's a much better location. The other just,
Yeah, I agree.
all right, you're still gonna need the variance because it's still in the front line, in front of the rear line, in front of the front line of your house. All right, but,
Okay.
all right? So, assuming you're agreeable with that location.
Sure, I mean, if
Do we
it's
want to set
feasible.
this for a public hearing, subject, and I'll take pictures when I'm out there?
That's fine.
Oh, okay, so basically, so you want to go forward
Well,
to the public hearing?
Because he's
Yeah,
still
sure.
gonna need the variance.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
But he's gonna need the variance,
okay, I mean, if
yeah,
that's...
just because it's in the front of the house. So,
Okay.
same thing.
Okay,
there's
so,
no-
so basically the understanding is that the chair or somebody is going to go and and you're going to stake the location or several locations and
Well, we'll work, just
Okay.
have a tape measure when
Okay.
when you're out there, we'll work it.
then basically what is the best location, we'll work with you. Okay, motion to advertise.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right? I'll give you a call so we can set up a time this weekend. We're gonna have to figure out how do we write the resolution on this one so it's in this space.
Okay.
All right, item number 10 is Appeal 3700, Hernandez Zulin.
Mr. Gina?
Oh, I'm sorry, folks, before you leave, you need your instructions for your sign.
Oh, okay.
All right, because you do have to put a sign on the front of your house so your neighbors are aware.
Thank you very much.
Edna Hernandez Zulin.
Zulin.
What is it?
Zulin.
Zulin, thank you.
You were pretty
138
close.
What?
You were pretty close.
But I really appreciate saying people's names right. 138 Country Club Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a special permit for an in-home professional office, hair and nail salon pursuant to section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance. All right, we did review this with you last month. We were concerned about how many stations you had going on in your proposed, in the basement of your home. You did explain that you had a previous store or location, commercial location that had gone out of business because of the safety, and so you had this equipment left. We do understand that since we met, you have sent in a revision to your, hold on, I'm just gonna pull it out. You sent in a revision with a reducing the number of stations, well, eliminating the duplicates of stations, but there's still a lot going on.
No, I also removed some, I removed the nail
You
dryer.
removed the
and
reception.
The reception desk, yes,
Yes.
and the manicure, one of the manicure stations I got rid of, and the pedicure station that you requested I
But now I
remove.
saw a new table got added.
No, there was one table.
There was a facial table or something?
It's a facial
Facial bed, right.
Mhm.
I don't remember seeing that the first time around. It wasn't in your original application.
I didn't put it in my original one.
Huh?
I didn't put it in my original layout.
Not that I see. I mean, I have the original one, and it's not in here. Here.
Well, it's portable. It's not. It's a portable facial bed, so
What does that mean? It's portable?
that it can be removed, folded up and removed.
Okay. Here it is. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't find your new one. Yeah, you've changed how this other space is working. So now you're gonna have people walk into a space that's only gonna have a little table, a pedicure chair tucked in the corner.
That's not. No, that's not tucked in the corner. That's
Well,
all.
it's next to whatever's tucked in the corner.
That's a fountain.
Okay.
It's built into the wall.
And your nail polish stand, I get that.
Mhm.
But, so realistically, you could have, you can still have multiple people in there at one time. And I think that's what we were concerned about, was how many clients, customers you might be having in your home at any one given time.
It's not going to, I mean, it's going to be operated small. So, I mean, like I was saying, when a woman comes to, to get her service done, she usually likes to bring a company with her, like her daughter or a girlfriend, and usually there's only 2 people. There will just be only 2.
But you're gonna be doing 2 clients at one time.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Well, somebody's having their nails drying, you're gonna be working on the second person.
Right, if they want to have a service done, that's only if they do. I mean, whoever comes with the girlfriend. Or daughter, exactly. And then your question was if I was going to be open on Sundays, and I said no, I'm not going to be open on Sundays. And then for Saturdays, I won't be open every Saturday. If there's an event that I have to partake with my family, I'll be, with my family, do whatever comes up, special events. I won't be operating my business, will be closed. So not every Saturday I'm going to be open to service customers.
I think for the time at least that I've been on the board, we've approved 1 in-home office for a hair stylist, and it was 1 chair. And so it was very easy to see how the business was going to be limited because it was really 1 chair.
Meaning for the hair, for
clients,
hair?
right.
I only have 1 chair for
I
the.
understand that, but you have multiple chairs that somebody could be sitting in and partaking of service. And so it's not easy to see, it's easy to see how this business can be well expanded if you find other people who want to work there.
I don't intend on having anybody working there. It will only be me, and under New York State, when running a home business, it's only 1 person who's supposed to be running the services.
But again, you're the owner now.
Yes.
And this variance would stay with the property. And so ultimately, this board has to be concerned about for future use of that home as a business. And so that's why limiting it to 1 chair clearly says it's 1 client at a time. All right.
Well, right, but I mean, if it's like, say, a mother comes and she comes with her daughter, and she says that she, wants to get her hair done, and and say, I mean, usually the daughter would just stay there, or if the daughter says, oh, that she wants to get a manicure, I could probably say, yes, I can service you, or I can't, because depending on what it is that I'm doing on the mother. And I also have letters from my neighbors who I shared with what I was looking to do.
Do you have
Also,
those letters
I
with you
do.
now?
Yes, I do.
This is in the legend, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so one of the things we did ask,
I did bring the deed for you.
yeah, we did see that the deed restrictions, actually, let me read that into the record first, hold on.
Do we need to go back to the?
Yeah, please, just so that your voice catches on the microphone. All right, so right up front in the deed restrictions, right up front, it does identify, unlike the other deed restrictions we read this evening. Parent, declarants. Thank you.
What are you looking for?
Well, there's a residential use.
2.4.
2.4, thank you. So there is a residential lot use. Each lot shall be used for residential, single-family purpose only, provided, however, that home office engaged in any lawful purpose and employing not more than 2 persons other than the residents of the lot shall be permitted, as lots shall not be further subdivided, and lots shall not be further subdivided into 2 or more lots, unless, well, that's not really relevant.
And you have 2.7.
But again, this is a,
Yeah, look at 2.7.
thank you, but this is, I want to just focus on the fact that this is a home office. It's not saying it's a professional servicing here or something like that.
That's what I'm saying, 2.7 made.
2.7 is the nuisance clause, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, no nuisance, dangerous, or offensive activity, manufacturing, business, trade, sales, or other non-residential use may be conducted on any lot except that a home office with not more than 2 employees other than the residents of the dwelling on said lot shall be permitted. So I guess the question is whether what the business that you're proposing to run here qualifies as a home office, or whether it really qualifies as a trade, a business, a trade, sales, and other non-residential use.
Our definition for professional office is an office of a properly certified or licensed psychologist, social worker, lawyer, engineer, planner, architect, accountant, teacher, or other similar professional person. And personal service establishment's definition is any business providing services related to the body or physical appearance of a person, such as beauty shops, barber shops, any other similar establishment.
That's ours.
So that's a personal service as opposed to a professional office.
That's why we allowed the hairdresser. I guess there's 2 parts to that. One is the chair's comments to those. Just while we're talking about that, just so you know, even if we were to approve it, your declarations say no signs. You cannot have a sign. So even though our code permits a sign, the declaration under 2.14 says no signs or notices. So you have a question, and I don't know how we're going to proceed at this point, but you have to understand, as I said earlier today, even if we grant it because the law allows it, we had a prior situation where it was just a shed, and the people wanted to put it in their side lot in the Legends, and this place became filled with owners when they got those notices out there coming in to say no. So you may have that situation in this case. So if we allow it to go forward and you advertise, I expect that there's going to be a number of professionals that will come forward out of that development that want to be heard on that issue. So even if we grant it and you do it and they win on this, they can stop you. Just because we grant something under as permitted by the law doesn't take precedence or have any kind of effect on what a judge may do if somebody else seeks to sue you to enforce these restrictions and covenants. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying?
So you're saying that if they were to see that my business is advertised
Well, you can't put a sign, so our code says
No,
you
I
can put up
know,
a 2-square-foot sign. So if we say, yeah, you can do it, but this says, no, you can't, then they sue, the judge most probably will say, no, you can't put a sign out there.
No, I remember you did ask me
if
last
we-
if I was going to put a sign, and I said no.
I want you to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
Because our law says, that- when I say our law, the town of East Fishkill law says something can be done, doesn't mean that you can do it under your deed restrictions. And if your neighbor sues you, any of your neighbors in that neighborhood, just one guy, if there's 50 houses in there and 49 say yes to you, and one person says no and sues you and wins in court, you gotta get rid of it.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to make you understand.
I understand, okay.
Okay. The other thing I think what the chair is trying to get to is how big is this business going to be if we allow it? Because if you have 5 different stations and you have 2 employees, there's going to be situations where you may have 10 different cars in your neighborhood potentially.
Well, it says you're not allowed to employ anyone.
I'm not allowed to employ anyone. Under New York State, I'm not allowed to employ anyone by me operating out of my house.
Okay. Okay.
You could,
Yeah, can I read these letters into the record?
let's do it in public hearing.
Well, except that there's, one of these letters raises an issue, actually.
Okay, fine.
All right, there,
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
Jim, Barbara?
So up to 2 is okay, I think.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead?
There are 3 letters here from the neighbors, all independently written, and we'll hold on to them, and we'll read them into the record for the public hearing if we get that far. However, one of them is signed, or there's a bottom tag here to it that says Edna Hernandez Zullen, Mary Kay Independent Beauty Consultant at 138 Country Club Road.
I used to do Mary Kay.
This is dated October 14, 2014.
Mary Kay Cosmetics is an independent.
Right, so you're already operating a business out of this address?
No, I go to their homes. And Mary Kay, you go to their homes.
But in essence, you probably have a home office already for all the paperwork associated with?
Oh, well, like if I have
Do you accept deliveries at this address for your Mary Kay Cosmetics?
Yeah, I do.
So she's already...
But that's not, no, let me explain. Mary Kay Cosmetics is a company where it's an independent company, you being an independent beauty consultant.
It's like the
And
Avon.
you...
Yes.
Right, but I don't have any, like a big operation or anything like that. I do Mary Kay very, very little, and it's different than with what I'm requesting. With Mary Kay, you go to people's homes and you show them what you have and see if they like it and they buy it from you, but that's you going to their home. That's not so much of them coming to you in that way.
But I think we understand
It's
that.
two separate things.
I think we understand that. The question is something sent to your home and then you go out and sell that? Part of your business is being run out of your home. You're receiving product in your home. And that's the point the chair is making.
And are people coming to your home to pick up the things that they've ordered and things?
Well, I don't have a really big Mary Kay business, very, very small, but I don't
It
have,
doesn't preclude you from making it bigger.
no, but I don't have, I go to their home. I don't have a mass, customers coming to my house at all. And some of the things that I buy from Mary Kay, it's because I use it, me personally. It's not so much of a customer coming to my house to pick up the merchandise, not at all. It's more of me using the product because it works for my skin.
I think the point is, yeah, it's more that, but if your next door neighbor knows that you're selling it, they can come over and knock on your door and say, gee, can you get me this? Or when you get it, I'll come over. Correct?
Or somebody in the development.
Correct, but it does, but my neighbor, we're right next door, so I mean, it's like either I walk to her
I understand.
But my operation is not like that at all. It's very small. I'm not big in Mary Kay. Most of it is because I'm using the product and I like how it works for my skin. It's not, that's the other alternative with Mary Kay, that, you can stay being a customer for Mary Kay if you choose not to be an independent beauty consultant.
Does the Legends have, is it septic private for each house and water?
We're
or
town,
is-
we're town water. We're not septic, we're town water.
Was there something you guys wanted to comment on in the restrictive covenant, or no?
No, I think those are the three things that cover that.
Okay.
I'm sort of reading it, that it's not permitted, but I
Right.
don't know. I think our job is to be aware of it, and like we say, make her aware of it. I don't know.
And again, when
I'm
we,
concerned, I think the
Well,
primary
as-
concern
as-
is
Good. Your concern is?
how many stations and whether there's going to be any employees. And my understanding is you're not licensed to have employees.
No.
No, you're not licensed.
No, I'm not allowed to have employees operating a home business out of my house. No, I'm not allowed. As a cosmetologist, esthetician, nail technician,
Well, as a hairdresser,
as a cosmetologist,
as a hairdresser.
as a hairdresser.
Can you have people come and cut hair that's not doing those other things?
Excuse me, can you repeat
Can
that?
you have people that are coming to get a haircut?
Can you have employees,
To
if you
give
limited
haircuts.
your business to just haircuts, could you then have employees?
No.
Okay.
No, again, under New York State, by me looking to operate a home business, I'm only the only one who's allowed to operate the service. I'm not allowed to employ someone.
For anything, so they couldn't do fingernails, they couldn't wash hair, they couldn't have any of that.
No, I'm not allowed to.
Right, I think you're seeing that there's some concern on the part of the board about what you're requesting. We can proceed and go to public hearing and see what your other neighbors might have to say. I appreciate that you've already gotten 3 letters from your neighbors.
Yes.
Is that what you wish us to do?
I mean, because Legends is
It's a private development.
yeah, it's a very, I mean, they're concerned, I mean, the neighbors are much more involved in the activities that happen in that neighborhood. So if we do go forward, let's say, be aware that, as my colleague pointed out, that they will be coming to express their views, not only in writing, but in person here. And you'll have to face those neighbors and answer their questions and
Well,
concerns.
they'll address their concerns to the board.
Yeah, I mean, again, you'll have to, again, they'll address it to us, but then we have to take those into consideration, so you have to be ready for that, basically.
Okay.
So do you want us to go forward?
Yes, I'd like to go forward.
Motion to advertise.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. See you next month.
And we'll give you
Okay.
instructions, and we'll see you next month. Thank you. The next item number 11, Appeal 3701, Bermudas. This applicant is requested to be placed on next month's agenda, sorry.
Okay.
We just have to keep it here as a placeholder, and we are acknowledging to this person that because this was a neighbor complaint, that she can't continue to request to push it off. All right, this board needs
Well,
to.
that one, yes.
Yes, exactly, this board needs to resolve that issue. Item number 12, Appeal 3704, I don't want to say this wrong, Caranto? Okay. Caranto, Dimino? What is it? Dimino, thank you.
Yes, very Irish.
Robert Caranto and Laura Dimino, 122 West Hook Road, Hopewell Junction, are requesting a 23-foot front line variance for an expansion of a non-conforming house built in 1950 pursuant to section 194-123 of the zoning ordinance. All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So tell us what you are, this is the first we're seeing of your application, so.
Yes. We have this house on our property that, it's, like you said, it was built in the 50s, and we just like to make it bigger, we'd like to make it nicer, and
It's currently like 380 square feet. We just want to
Is it
make it
really
a
like
little bigger.
was this like listed as, labeled as a garage? Is it really a garage?
No.
Or was it a
It's not a
garage?
no,
No?
it's a studio apartment right
It's
now.
okay.
That's the way it's set up. And
They want to
just,
make it 10 times as big.
no, not that big.
No,
No, not that big.
That would be nice. but-
Did you live here?
We do not reside there quite yet. We are in the process of trying to get our lives there.
Okay.
So, we would like to have this as a mother-in-law.
What does that mean as a mother-in-law?
We would like for her mother.
My mother.
So the way it's set up right now, it's, a little small for,
Single, one household living there, not like a mother-daughter sort of thing?
No, it's just for one person.
Okay.
It's got a little kitchen now, the shower, the bathroom, and the living space. But it'd be nice to have a little room to.
You have about
stretch out.
16 acres, isn't it?
yes.
16 and a half.
I mean, is it
16
a lot of it usable or?
Oh, yeah, it's usable.
Okay.
Very steep.
Okay.
Pick it up and move it back a few feet.
It's only 380 square feet.
Well, yeah, that's the question, why would you do the addition on that side of the house as opposed to putting it in the back?
Because
No,
the
we
back
are.
of the house, no. The
Is it
back of
going
the
up or
house,
going down?
Back side of the street has the power lines that are about, maybe about 15 feet off the back of the house, back line.
Oh, okay, that's what this line is.
Yes, that's the power lines
Okay.
right there. It's a steep slope. It's got water drainage right there. So that's really,
Is it coming down?
yes, it's going down on
So it goes down, the
Down-
slope comes down, so
downhill.
the drainage is actually headed toward your house?
No, it runs along, yes, well, runs alongside of it.
That's fine, but they're,
There's a, stormwater runoff brook that's right next to it. It's
So
another
how-
reason why we couldn't go back in that direction.
so how close is the nearest house opposite this?
On the other side, to the property line, I think it's 100 feet.
Do you have an actual picture of what this building looks like?
Yes.
That I think would be helpful.
On one lot.
Yeah, because it was before 1985.
Okay, I'm just making sure I understand.
I like your t-shirt. Now that I'm seeing what the warning actually says.
No, I got to read it.
There you go.
You're not getting me to do it.
All right, so that's what it looks like.
Yeah, this is what it looks like. This is the street over here. This is
Just let
West-
Tara look at it real quick.
This is West Hook Road over here.
Okay,
The power lines run right here. It's got a stormwater runoff right here.
okay.
And uphill is that
Just
way.
turn it.
Uphill is this way. But the way it is grade is all, it's designed to run around the house.
Cute little house.
Yeah, we just want to build on the back, on the downside, just to bump 10 feet. We just want to go 10 feet off.
You gonna keep it a dark color?
Yes, actually, we have red brick that we would like to use for that.
Yeah, we're recycling some brick.
What's the
That
access? The road,
The
the
road is-
driveway's on the back side of the house?
Where's
No.
the roadway?
What you're looking at right now is right here,
Okay.
and the driveway's
Yeah,
going
right
to be
here.
right there.
There's kind of
This is
a
the
weird
West Hook Road.
rectangular
The front
drawing
space
where the
on
driveway
this
is.
I understand it's on West Hook Road, but I drive it sometimes. I'm trying to think if I'm familiar with it.
See where I flagged
I know
it?
where it is.
Yeah, I figured that out.
But the front of the house is on the opposite side, that's what I was getting at.
Yes, the front of the house is this way.
Okay.
And you got a big, long driveway there.
So
don't you?
when you come up the driveway, you're not looking at the front of the house.
And that's not a problem with access for your mother-in-law?
Well, no, I mean, we're going to make it so that's got like a nice walkway going up and around.
You got 2 streams on this property?
Yes, actually, we got 3.
3.
You got 16 acres.
Yeah, there's another one way back in the woods.
Fish?
No,
Oh.
it's just pretty much really just mostly stormwater runoff, unfortunately. It doesn't flow year round.
That's no good.
I'm gonna be curious to hear what your neighbors have to say about this one, you know?
The neighbors all love it, but I would definitely, I'll tell them to come in. They actually love the idea.
Offer to take them skydiving.
You know, it's an existing property, we're not really adding to the...
No, and I get that,
So
and it's
do
a
you
nice
think-
little, it's a cute little house. I mean, but some people might think of it, well, it's just a shed, you know?
No, right, yeah.
And so they might not want it larger because they think it just looks like it's a little shed. So that's why I'm saying, I'm just gonna be curious as to what your neighbors are gonna say.
I'm just
Well, it's
curious,
gotta
one
be.
more thing that really has nothing to do with it. What are these concrete pads for? You got one by your
Yeah, you
house? You got one by the house that you're talking about?
This one right here.
One back there, one
actually,
here.
we got a permit to put a shed there.
Okay.
This one is actually the patio in front of
The house.
the existing house right now.
And that one?
That one is a cistern. I don't know. It's just a foundation.
Okay.
Concrete
That's super
foundation,
well.
probably was something at one time.
Septic.
Probably it was a cold cellar or something, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, this area has a lot of history. And like, you know, it dates back to the 1800s, the farmhouse. It was part of the farmhouse across the street.
Yeah.
So.
I think, okay, I'm gonna have to take a ride and list it.
Motion to advertise.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Take your
Demeanor.
information.
Yes. No, I just want to make sure I'm saying it right.
yes.
Just gotta keep practicing.
No, I spell it out phonetically, so I try to remember for next time. Okay, so Pam will give you your instructions for your sign.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month. Item number 13, Appeal 3705, Kimberly Corners Corp. Thomas Cunningham, representing Kimberly Corners Corp., is requesting a special permit to have a caretaker's apartment in the Kimberly Corners building at 1606 Route 82, Hopewell Junction, pursuant to Section 194-87. Good evening, Mr. Cunningham.
Good evening.
All right, so can you explain what you are proposing and...
This is the old A&P just past the Taconic on 82. There used to be a mezzanine in the back east corner of the store. It used to have some equipment for their refrigeration and their bathrooms and I think a snack room. It's about 1,000 square feet. What we're proposing is to try to take advantage of the code allowing a caretaker apartment in certain commercial uses. This plaza in particular, we think, would be very much aided by having an on-site personnel. We have almost 24/7 operation. The Sunny closes at about, used to be 3:30, 4:30, now more like 2:30, but the first postal workers start showing up at 5:30. So at best, there's 3 hours a day when somebody's not there and something's not going on. We have a daycare center there, which is obviously subject to additional concerns.
Right.
When we've had problems, fire alarms go off. Usually I have to go from where I live to there. If it's under New York state law, and this has happened twice now, below 10 degrees weather, all the kids had to be paraded out into the parking lot until the fire company came, cleared the alarm. And, you know, some of these things are unavoidable. The kids pull the alarm, smoke alarms go on. They're unavoidable, but delays in dealing with them might be somewhat avoided, and having someone there would certainly help with those kinds of measures. Also, hopefully it would help with some of the vandalism, the graffiti. We've had to deal with that twice.
Okay.
We're kind of in a no man's land there. We're just past what East Fishkill really thinks is East Fishkill. The Dutchess County Sheriff's Department gets to the new plaza across the street, and then their cars tend to turn around and go the other way. So we rarely see a sustained police presence, so it would be helpful for security reasons and just general safety of everybody if we had someone on site.
How many businesses operate in the plaza now? How many businesses?
10. There are 10 tenants, 4 in the old A&P store itself, which has been subdivided.
Right.
And then there always were 6 satellite stores.
And so you do recognize that the caretaker here is somebody who will really be responsible for what's happening in the plaza there?
Right.
It's not just an apartment to be able to rent
Oh,
out to
no,
everybody?
no. We're hopeful. I mean, I hope to have a person picked out that knows the systems very well, if it goes forward. Yeah, no, it wouldn't serve much purpose for that. We don't need to make a couple of dollars on a cheap rental.
It's still income producing, so.
So the floor plan that you shows 2 bathrooms, 2 full bathrooms. You said it was just for a single person then?
Oh, let me take a look.
Yeah, you got 2 full bathrooms. One looks like it's right off the bedroom and off the den, which could really be a second bedroom.
Just sort of gave it to the architect and let him do what he... Okay. And that needs to be adjusted, or? It's a one-bedroom...
Well, if the second one, if you didn't have the tub there, if it was just more of a powder room, you know, so that if the caretaker has guests that come up, you know, I think that makes it less likely that it's going to be more than a caretaker's apartment.
I'm sure you can convert that to a half bathroom.
Yeah.
Whatever, which one you want to do. I mean, that one's next to the bedroom.
I would say, I'm guessing, but I'll have to ask the architect, but I'm presuming it'll be this one.
The one in the far corner.
Toward the living room area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one services bedrooms.
Right.
And that should be a full
Bedrooms, I'm sorry, what? Bedrooms or bedroom and den?
Yeah, I'm sorry, den. Services the bedroom and the den, and that should be, I would assume, so I'm making this a half bath.
I mean, it's a nice sized apartment, no question.
That's the only access to that existing electrical room is through
I'm
the
sorry?
apartment? The only access to this electrical room is through this apartment?
Yes,
no other-
there's the one access, yes.
How big is it?
It's, the architect says it is on the second floor, so that there's another, for emergency egress purposes, where are we?
Looks like there's French doors here.
There's this,
Okay.
there's a ladder here, and this is
Okay.
also second floor. So unfortunately, they're both in kind of the same, this is sprinkled though.
Okay.
The whole thing is sprinkled.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll be required to, the sprinklers will have to be relocated for code based on these
Right.
alterations. But they're up there now.
Oh,
So the whole
okay.
house is sprinkled.
Okay.
So some of the concerns with these guys kind of alleviated a little bit.
Comments or questions from board members?
No.
I'm good. Motion to advertise.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, Pam will give you your instructions for your sign, and we will see you next month. No, they've been taken care of, okay. You renewed your permits and the nail salon permit and everything? You took care of all the issues on your property there?
We're taking care of them.
Yeah.
Everything was submitted today.
Right, that's what I was told, yes.
It's been a bit confusing. The health department took 9 months to get through, but
As long as it's being
we're
worked.
cleared now. We have been cleared by the health department.
Yep.
For this use as well as the other.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 14, Appeal 3706, Iorizzo. Greg Iorizzo, 21 Pondview Drive, Hopewell Junction, requesting an 8-foot height variance for a tower structure located on an addition/garage on his property pursuant to section 194-101C of the zoning ordinance. Good evening. Is this orange? What color is this?
Well, the existing house for the time being is kind of like a burnt red. It's like I'm not even sure what color it used to be.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Michael Burt. I'm the architect for the applicant.
Okay.
What we have is, we have a 2-part going on now. Part of you see the orange house, the burnt orange, whatever color we want to call it, is the existing structure. Structure to the left is the addition. The addition, as you see it, has pretty much, it keeps morphing from where it started. We had I'll give you a little background history. We had a meeting before we built the tower, roughly 18 months ago, with Mr. Byers. And during that meeting, because we were concerned about the height of the tower at that point in time, and we sat down, we went through the section, and to be honest with you, the 3 of us, we read the statute, and we all missed the the one word that has brought us here today, which was all setbacks. We thought, in reading it, we kind of saw what we wanted, and all three of us just kind of went on our merry way. It was a mistake, and that's what brings us to you today. We are currently from the closest property line, we are double the height in setback distance. The highest point of the tower is 44 feet to the midpoint. We are 91 feet to the side yard. Now, if you look at the elevation, you'll see also that the property has a step in it. There's a retaining wall that keeps part of the property about 10 feet up than the left. So the impact on the side yard is actually even less. It's 39 feet, roughly, in height to the higher section of the property. And then it says it steps down to the front, which is the continuous grade around the entire building, or the majority of the building, it's 44 feet. And the side yard setback, which is roughly about 200 feet away from the tower, is 36.1 feet. So that's where the 8-foot setback variance comes from.
You just keep saying setback.
Well, the way the statute reads is that you have to be, because we're so far set back from the property, the size of the property, we're allowed to have an increase in the buildable height. But the statute reads that you have to be at least equal to the closest point on any setback, building setback line.
So they're allowed to exceed the 35-foot height restriction?
Yes. Section 240, forget it, is for every, when you're over 50 feet setback from the property, when you exceed the setback, the minimum required setback, you're allowed to increase the height.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What section you're looking at? Maximum height 35 feet. You're saying section 240?
Yeah, it's 240.
So it's supposed to be 2.5 stories. Are these, is the tower, are these actual stories?
Well,
you're
that's
showing?
what I'm
Is that
saying.
4 stories?
That's 3.
No. It's not stories. It's it's dead space is what it
So
is.
that doesn't mean it's not a story.
By the definition, there's no access to it.
So?
So it's technically not a story because there's no way to get to it. It's an attic access only. It's a pull down
There's
stair
no
only.
stairs in there?
No, it's only a pull down stair. To get to the highest point of it, which would make it a story. But the building code allows 2 stories of frame above a cellar or garage. And the entire first floor of that structure is a garage. So we're allowed 2 stories. So the third story, which would exceed it, is technically an attic. There are no stairs to it.
But this is a garage as well, right?
Yes, the entire lower level of that is a garage.
So how high can a garage go? Can't go above 25 feet, I think.
Well, the basic house itself, the basic structure itself is under the 25 feet.
You put on a garage. You put
Yes.
on a garage.
Yes, no, I understand that, but the height of the garage itself, we meet all zoning restrictions. The only one that we're not meeting is a small section of the tower, the roof on the tower. The rest of it, we've conformed with all the other requirements.
But weren't the plans that were filed show a tower of 33 feet?
They were, the original plans, the original plans that were filed were different than what the revised plans that were filed after our meeting with Mr. Byers.
Do we have a copy of those plans?
Yeah, that's not the plans that we have.
As I said to you in the beginning, this plan has morphed from the original state, which is, it's changed, but we submitted a set of plans after a meeting of a number of months ago.
And so those plans that you submitted were for the 44-foot high tower?
Yes,
So you showed engineering-wise why it was structurally sound and...
it's absolutely sound. There's no issues with it.
So Mr. Byer signed off on that?
We signed off on it when it was done, but again, like I said, during a meeting, we all missed the term all, the word all.
So I'm wondering, how did you get here? That's what.
Well, because we missed the word, we all missed the word all when we were reviewing. We have gone for a CO on the property.
You keep saying that. You missed it where?
In the zoning code. In the section of the zoning code, it says that you're allowed to increase the height based on
section? You keep
setback.
saying 240. I don't know a section.
It's 240.
I don't know any section 240.
I can give you it in a second.
That's what I'm asking for, please.
Okay. It is section, I'm sorry, I'm different meaning. It's 194-101, height restriction exceptions. It says height variations, the height limitations of 35 feet or 2.5 stories in the R1, R2, R3 districts may be increased 10 feet for every 100 feet of additional front yard depth, which is furnished in excess of 50 feet minimum yard established in the bulk setbacks. And it goes on to say, and this is where, provided that the building exceeds the height limits of 35 shall not be located with respect to any boundary line, the distance less than the height of such building. And it was a term any.
And this is allowed in a residential district.
Yes, it's in an R1, an R2, and an R3 district.
When was this meeting with Mr. Byer?
It was roughly about 18 months ago. I don't have the date. I didn't mark down the date when we were there.
Because the revision that we have, the last revision is dated February 27th, 2012.
It was after that. It was
So
in.
then we don't even have a copy of the plans then. We don't
They
even
were
know
submitted.
what we're looking at.
Well, these are building department files.
Where they were definitely submitted. We left them with Mr. Byers when we left that day. It was 2 pages that was specifically with the tower, and that's one of the elevations that was given to him that day.
Did you give us a site plan indicating how far you are from the road?
Yes, I submitted that with the application.
And so, again, what's the issue?
Right now, we're 261 feet from the road to the closest part of the front of the house.
So you've built the tower.
Oh, it's constructed. That's the pictures that are there. We're in the process of trying to get a CO on the property right now. As I said, we had the meeting to go over the height with him with the restriction on the section to make sure before we constructed this, and it was, I said the term, well, I'm sorry, it was any. And when we were talking about it, we missed it, we sat down with him, he said, it looks fine, everything looks good, and we left him with it was 2 pages showing the structure and showing the revision to the tower.
How deep is this tower? Or is there a
The
second?
tower is
behind?
20, it's 20 by 20 square.
Like something's behind it, or is that just, oh, there's an extra roof coming out of the?
Yeah, there's like a little, like a witch hat. It's like a little witch hat with a piece coming out.
What's the finish on this tower?
Well, it's a shingle, it's a slate roof on the tower.
The actual siding on the tower itself?
Oh, it's
I mean, it doesn't
You got stone
match the
and-
rest of the house.
it's stone below and it's stucco above. The whole house is going to be, at some point in time, once we get through the next phase of this, is going to be the red part of the house. We're going to be matching and redoing that section of the house later. So this way we get rid of it, no one looks the
Does the house
same.
become brown or whatever that color is?
Yes. Yeah, it's a medium brown with metal roofs and stucco. And then there's stone down below.
I asked what's the next phase of this?
Well, it's going to be making the rest of the house conform to what we've built. You know, just
Is there more building involved?
very little building, a new front entranceway, because right now the front entrance there, the roof is very high, so it really doesn't provide any protection for the front door.
Okay.
You know, there's still, you know, when we get heavy snowstorms, there's still 2 feet of snow against the front door.
Okay.
You know, one of the reasons for the tower is, you know, to take into account, you know, some of the views that are over there that he can get from that high up.
Views of, I thought you just said there's no access up.
No. Even from the where there is access, what is considered the second floor of it, there's still some great views of the golf course, which is he borders. And just overlooking, you can see over all the other houses that are in the subdivision, in the old Johnson Farms.
So this tower is visible to the neighbors?
A couple of them. But I mean, it's not something like a fire tower that sticks out so everybody sees it. You have to pull down the cul-de-sac in order to see it.
And so what's, if this board says no, what's involved in removing the tower? I have to ask the question.
Tearing it down. I mean, what we're asking for is, I don't feel, I mean, it's large, but we still are, other than the one side yard that we're not meeting, we're still the 44 feet by the definition of the code, we're still within the height limits that we'd be allowed to.
And you wouldn't need a variance.
And we wouldn't be, if we had another 8 feet on the other side of the property, we wouldn't be here today.
Not anymore.
It was, again, it was an oversight on our part.
8 feet, you would have to be 25 at least, or 30 from the side, plus 100.
No, it's the front yard they have to be back from, not the sides.
Didn't it just say any?
We have to be, the tower can't be higher, it has to be equal
It kept saying
to,
all, and he switched it to any when he looked at
well, no,
the-
it's for setback, it's front yard setback and for the height. But you have, the height of it has to be equal to excuse me, any setback. So in order to get the height exception, you have to be more than 50 feet, and for every 50, you're allowed to go up for 10 for every 100 you're back. But the height of the tower has to be equal to any side, it can't be higher than any side yard, any setback line being a side. Because in this zone, it's the side yard setbacks are 25 feet.
Okay. I understand you had a meeting with the building inspector, and you all thought that what you were submitting was
Correct.
appropriate. I'm not seeing that we have the right plans. The plans, like I said, what we have, with the latest revision is February of 2012, which is 2.5 years ago.
Yes. Oh, this, like I said,
You
this.
said 18 months ago.
Yeah, this is started, this project was started, and then the tower kept changing. We went through a couple different, actually 8 different designs on the tower before we got to where we are today. And when we got to today, before we went to construction, those plans were brought to Mr. Byers, and we sat down with him in his, at his desk.
But this board needs to understand,
Yes.
we need a set of plans.
I can get you a set of plans.
Understand,
I don't understand why you don't have them.
Because what I'm seeing here is so far away that it's,
Yeah.
really, I can't see the
Okay.
material, I can't see the windows on that top level. you know.
Okay. Well, I did submit an architectural plan as well for it. You should have that in your package.
The plan that's here, like I said, is February 2012.
No, I submitted a small one with my application. So, why you don't have the plan in your file, I have no idea, because we left it with him. The day we met, we left it with him,
With who?
Mr. Byers.
All right, but that's a different office, maybe that's why.
Okay.
So you submitted to the building department, not to the
Well, I'm saying,
zoning.
when we sat down with Mr. Byers, we went over to see if the height was,
Right,
if we were
what I'm
building,
saying,
yes.
Your application to the zoning board needed a
Correct.
plan.
My apologies, I assumed that it was here I assumed that you would have it. I didn't realize that it wasn't in the building department's file either.
So this is the plan that you're saying was...
No, we
submitted in
submit,
your
that was just, I just took off the front elevation off the building plans. There is an actual set of construction plans that were submitted.
All right, but that's all I'm seeing in your
Okay.
application.
No, I didn't submit the building plans because I just assumed that you had them.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I can resubmit them. It's to the midpoint of the roof.
I'm guessing it's the 95 feet.
You plan to put up another tower, or this is it?
No, this is it. This is it. The rest of, after the construction of 3 years, this taking 3 years to get to the point where we are now, he's tired. He just wants to finish. The next phase of construction is going to be relatively simple.
No variance required.
No variance required. And quite honestly, if it wasn't for a misunderstanding, and we wouldn't, this is not where we were trying to do it all. Having the meeting with him, we were trying to make sure that we weren't going to wind up here. We tried to do it, it was a mistake.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to advertise. I mean, we don't have the council here, so, I can't get interpretation on the legal aspects.
Yeah, I guess I need to hear what your neighbors are going to say. Not yours, obviously.
No, Mr., They've been here through, I mean, all throughout the construction. The one neighbor this is closest to has absolutely no issues with it, and whether he'll come or not, I can't answer that. There's 5 houses on the cul-de-sac.
So what are you saying is the front line?
No.
Well, the front yard is the section, the small section of the cul-de-sac.
Okay, so you're going how far back from that?
We're 261 feet or 261 feet right now. That's to the closest section of the house.
And the height
The
of-
actual tower side of it is actually even further.
Okay, slow down.
Okay.
Talk a little slower.
Sorry.
So you're saying you're 200 and something feet back.
Correct.
You're saying the tower's 40 feet tall?
44.
44 feet tall. How far are you from the sideline?
36 and a half.
Where do I see that on your plan?
On the,
Oh, over there.
yeah, it's this side yard right here.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, it's this side yard right here.
Did you have a,
We
there's
didn't-
25 feet, okay,
25 feet.
I,
25
slow
feet.
down, you're talking.
So like I'm saying, where the tower is constructed right now, we're almost 200 feet from that side yard.
Okay, again, I just asked some questions.
No problem.
You gave me the answers, let me think. Okay, I see the issue as I understand it. Okay.
At least one of us gets it.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion to advertise and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you next
And we'll give you
month.
your instructions for your sign, and we'll see you next month.
Would you like me to submit the construction plans that we submitted beforehand?
We should have a set so that the neighbors, when they get their notice, have the opportunity to come in and see.
But again, for my record, for our record, it would be better to have our own copy right in front of us. So,
Not a full set of plans.
Well, no, it's only 2 pages.
Right, oh, okay. That's
What
fine.
we did is, I can find it because it was only the tower that we were talking about, it was just 2 pages.
Fine.
that's fine.
Thank you.
So I'll submit 5 copies of that. Thank you.
And the last of the day.
I have to recuse myself on this one.
Getting off already?
Ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh, you do?
What? You didn't hear that. I think so.
All right, let me
I think
introduce this
so.
one first, and then you tell us
Okay.
for the record why. Item number 15, Appeal 3707, Patrick Alfred Capelli Jr., representing Rebecca Patrick, 81 Athenian Lane, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 5-foot front line setback in order to rebuild a covered exterior stoop which was destroyed by fire in the same size and footprint pursuant to Section 194-94 of the zoning ordinance. For the record,
I believe I need to recuse myself. I'm not absolutely sure since she's not here, but I believe I was involved as an attorney with litigation involving Miss Patrick, so.
Oh, is that right? Okay, that's fine. That's too bad, but that's
are
okay.
you still representing her, or how long ago was this representation?
Last year.
Oh, okay, then yeah,
recent.
it's probably recent enough that we
Do
should.
the ugly divorce or something
Don't
else?
lose the record, let's, you know.
Okay. Okay, before I start, I'm going to correct something that Pam brought to my attention. I tried to get in touch with Rebecca today. I mean, the house, okay, let me give you a little background. The house was burned. It
Right.
burned to the ground. Okay,
Right.
81 Athenian Lane, the end of the cul-de-sac, 5,000 square feet, about a year ago, nothing left. We weren't the original designers of the house. We were asked to redesign the house on the exact same footprint. Somewhere along in my brain, and I didn't speak to her, she had a little roof there. So we put together this little narrative saying, yeah, there was a little roof there, I want to make it a little bit bigger. As it turns out, Pam calls me up and says, Al, we got a picture of the building there, there was never a little
Right.
roof in the front. Maybe the doorway was recessed, and maybe that's what she's thinking was, you know, her little roof, I want a little bit, a little bit bigger. Okay, that being said, for the record, you know, we can strike the fact that there was a little roof there, because in your mind's eye, you're gonna think that there was a little roof there.
So we're just gonna remove the language.
That's fine, and I can rewrite that. So now,
Right.
I wanna put
So
a,
let's start from the beginning.
I
Go
wanna put a
ahead.
bigger, I wanna put a bigger roof in the front. And the same way that Mike Bird has said, yes, I want the one-story little roof to cover my front door,
to stop the rain and snow from hitting my head when I press the doorbell. We didn't submit any elevations or plans. You may have or may not have seen the architectural plans that we submitted with the house. Okay. So we have a building permit to reconstruct the house. We're not building the front porch as of yet. It's only a one-story lean-to. And in your documentation there, you can see the original survey that was submitted to the building department on the existing footprint, yada, yada, yada. Somewhere along the line, when we got the building permit, after we got the building permit, I asked the surveyor to give me some a little bit more exacting dimensions, shooting right at my front door, because the original survey had something at a left field and something at a right field, not really truly the front door. So lo and behold, we're okay to the house and the foundation as it's built, but my little front porch that Al Capelli wants to add to the front is encroaching on that 50-foot front setback. And basically that's why I'm here. If you say, Al, she didn't have a front porch before, the heck with you, then I'll be on my merry way, but I'd like to give her a little front porch. And it's not a porch, it's a concrete stoop, which is there. We're going to build a concrete stoop, bigger, and put a nice little metal roof.
So are you proposing
over the
what was
entrance.
there before, essentially? Or
No, it's going to look better than that. Come on. Do we have the plans here?
Because, yeah, I don't have any schematic of what you're proposing.
Yeah, that's my apology. I should have put it in the package. I thought maybe next time I'd come in with some bells and whistles there. So you have a photograph of what the house looked like before.
From parcel access,
So
yes.
this is, so basically, the front elevation now, a little bit jazzed up. And this is my little front portico there, okay? So there's...
This is the old one.
That's the before, which we could have rebuilt, and this is the after.
So is there a balcony up top?
No balcony.
Is that
No,
what you're...
that's- no,
That's
the
a-
lower
that's a-
plane and the upper plane are at the same level. It's just this one-story metal roof that comes down on these 4 columns here that's sticking out 5 feet.
But it's just a roof, it's not,
It's only a roof,
it's not
that's it. Not the
a
whole,
railing and
not the
a...
whole thing, absolutely not.
And so that's just a window behind it,
That's correct.
not a doorway?
That's correct.
And there's no access to that little balcony area?
No, we can take a look at the floor plan, I can show you. Oh, is there, yeah, from the inside?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you can't walk out. That's a fixed, that's a fixed window.
Okay.
Then I can walk up to that window and touch it, but I'm not walking out.
Okay.
And if I walked
Okay.
out, I'd be on a sloped roof anyway, so, right? Because that's just a little slanted
I see.
roof front there, okay? So basically, you have the upper window there, which is pretty close to what was there. You have
Right.
the stone, which is pretty much what was there. I'm basically, putting a little roof over almost what was there.
At the
You
entrance,
said
yeah.
metal?
Yes,
What
it's gonna be
like a
metal,
copper?
yes, that's correct. It'll be aluminum, like everybody does, the faux copper, standing seam, little metal roof. We have a couple of touches on a couple of the box bays and a few other areas, just,
To match it?
yeah, just to
Tie it in
make
a
it
little
look
better.
a little bit different.
Motion to advertise.
That's why we're here.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right, Al, we'll see you next
Thank you,
month.
thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
finding out.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.